Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material in use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Estamos aquí, oye, que estamos aquí. Mírame, estamos aquí. Desde hace rato, cuando ustedes llegaron, ya estaban las huellas de nuestros zapatos. Se robaron hasta la comida de gato y todavía se están lamiendo el plato. Bien encabronados con estos ingratos. Hoy le doy duro a los tambores hasta que me acusen de maltrato. Si no entiendes el dato, pues te lo tiro en cumbia, bossa nova, tango o vallenato. A lo calaboy y bambú, bien frontú, con sangre caliente como Timbuktu. Estamos dentro del menú. Tupac se llama Tupac por Tupac Amaru del Perú. América no es solo USA, papá. Esto es desde Tierra del Fuego hasta Canadá. Hay que ser bien bruto, bien hueco. Es como decir que África es solo Marruecos. Estos canallas se les olvidó que el calendario que usan se lo inventaron los mayas con la Valdivia precolombina. Desde hace tiempo, este continente camina, pero ni con toda la marina pueden sacar de la vitrina la peste campesina. Esto va para el capataz de la empresa. El machete no es solo para cortar caña, también es para cortar cabeza.
Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. 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 Te muerde, te muerde.
Los paramilitares, las guerrillas, los hijos del conflicto, las pandillas, las listas negras, los falsos positivos, los periodistas asesinados, los desaparecidos, los narcogobiernos, todos los que robaron, los que se manifiestan y los que se olvidaron, las persecuciones, los golpes de estado, el país en quiebra, los exiliados, el peso devaluado, el tráfico de droga, los carteles, las invasiones, los emigrantes sin papeles, 5 presidentes en 11 días, disparo a quemarropa por parte de la policía, más de 100 años de tortura, la nova trova cantando en plena dictadura. Somos la sangre que sopla la presión atmosférica. Gambino, mi hermano, esto sí es América.
Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Aquí estamos, siempre estamos, no nos fuimos, no nos vamos. Aquí estamos pa' que te recuerdes. Si quieres mi machete te muerde. Si quieres mi machete te muerde.
autor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La debilidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
All righty. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. Let me just go down the list real quick here. As a matter of fact, first of all, let me say good afternoon, good night, or good evening and good morning for you that are listening from afar. Appreciate y'all being here today. Thank you. I think you may like this today. I'm not sure if I'm going to be reacting much to this, because I'm going to let this man cook. You know that old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So this guy, Professor Dave, he's a science, he studied science, and he's more of an atheist. He doesn't, obviously believe in the Bible. But I find it interesting that he gets into the decimation of certain people and, puts them in a particular space, and then, gives us more ideas as to who they are. Because quite frankly, family, this is what they are: Christian and Jewish Zionists. It's the same shit. It's the same raza. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's the same raza. Some just believe in Jesus, and some just believe in the fucking Babylonian Talmud and all that fucking crazy shit. There's a lot of witchcraft in that religion. The actual Judaic religion that studies the Talmud and the Mishnah and the Zohar. It's a lot of mysticism. Let's just be fucking frank. That's just a fact. If you study that yourself, they say it themselves. They do believe in charms and in amulets and shit, and they draw stuff in their hands. Come on. They're all about mathematics within the script. Oh, come on, bro. Stop it. Anyways, with all that being said, let's get going, bro, because this video, look, for anybody that's new, I would suggest this is not a short-winded channel. If you're gonna watch this, come back, whatever. But if you miss something from the beginning, you're not gonna understand what's going on in the back. That's just a fact. And let me start it off with this right here, okay? Because I've shared this with y'all before several times. At the end of the most important video, I'm gonna express to you what I'm gonna express to you right now. Okay? There's nothing new under the sun. We've heard these things before. We've dealt with this before. We have a lot of raza complaining today regarding these so-called Khazars who are invading Mexico and taking over land. okay? Supposedly they're buying Baja California. Well, we're going to find out some real interesting things about how these people look at the Palestinians. And I want to remind you that they look at them just like how they look at us.
Padres de Palestina fueron, ahora con mayor información, después de haber hablado ampliamente con el señor Arafat, apoyo el reconocimiento de los derechos nacionales de Palestina, la devolución de los territorios ilegalmente ocupados por Israel y el cumplimiento de las determinaciones de las Naciones Unidas. Y esto lo vamos a decir en Israel dentro de unas horas, y yo lo haré, desde luego, porque es una experiencia para Latinoamérica esta gira, para que cada país tenga mayor información y mayores elementos de juicio para adoptar una posición. Incluso comparó la situación palestina con la de México, al haber sufrido constantes intervenciones extranjeras y pérdidas territoriales.
You hear that last part? That's the important part. And they kept telling our people, they kept telling you, I kept telling you since 2022. Now in the last year or so, y'all been picking up on it. Oh, they're invading Mexico. I fucking told you. I told you they're going to treat you like Palestinians. But yeah, I mean, who am I, right? Here's another example.
Diferenciándonos de la política del norte, y aquí viene el problema que quiero plantear, digamos, con exactitud, ojalá. Y es que la política del norte cada vez más es el rechazo profundo del éxodo. Es una política racista, y por eso lo de Palestina tiene tanta importancia para alumbrarnos el inmediato futuro para nosotros. Que no van a matar solo los niños palestinos, sino que van a defender su modus de vida, como le quieran llamar, que es blanco, que es ario, que está basado en altos niveles de consumo, como todos ustedes saben, que hoy es un consumo que se construye sobre la muerte de los demás, porque es lo que provoca la crisis climática. Es decir, el consumo blanco ario del norte está acercándonos a la extinción de la humanidad a través de la crisis climática. No voy a explicar eso aquí. Otro tema, el cambio químico en la atmósfera. Y ese cambio químico en la atmósfera estimula el éxodo. Entonces, los problemas políticos y de inestabilidad de nuestros países, que ya arrojan una población que va hacia México, cada vez crecerán, pero por otro motivo que tiene que ver con la falta del agua, con la desertización, por el empobrecimiento, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Crisis climática que será respondida por el norte como en Palestina, quebrando el derecho internacional. No los van a invitar, no les van a permitir la entrada, ametrallarán y usarán campos de concentración.
No, they're not doing that. No, they not. Don't they have our gente in concentration camps? Haven't they shot recently two brothers of ours? Three, actually, as a matter of fact. One in his 50s, one in his 20s. How many have died in their hands just this year? 50-something, I guess. It's in your face. See, but nobody was paying attention, were they? Were they? Or were you? The comparison, like, no está pasando aquí, güey. It doesn't affect me. Okay.
Que es un criminal sionista, lo digo abiertamente, él apoyó a Trump y es íntimo de Netanyahu. Entonces, cuando llegó Netanyahu a Dallas, Texas, que había un grupo de judíos o israelíes, no sé cómo se diga ya eso, le decían, oye, ¿por qué persigues tanto a los palestinos? Y les dice, los palestinos son para nosotros los israelíes lo que los mexicanos son para ustedes en Estados Unidos. Entonces yo veo la palestinización de los mexicanos en Estados Unidos.
Con todos los componentes.
¿Cómo?
Con todos los componentes, porque primero Estados Unidos le roba el territorio a México, después le termina de construir un muro, después los ataques xenófobos y racistas por un componente étnico y religioso también. ¿Qué falta?
Bueno, falta el último capítulo. Vamos a empezar a ver, hay que tenerlo en el escenario, una gran discriminación sobre los mexicanos. Eso a mí me queda muy claro. Y Estados Unidos, porque aquí la pureza blanca del WASP, el racismo, supremacismo, es igual que la pureza inventada de los nuevos judíos del siglo XXI, que ni son semitas. Lo digo con responsabilidad. Hoy uno llega a Tel Aviv y el 25% habla ruso. Son de origen házaro. Los házaros, lo digo también con definiciones puntuales, son mongoles centroasiáticos. No son semitas. En Estados Unidos, que es un criminal.
Why is that important to know this, man? Because they're not the only ones. What up, brother? Good to have you here. I was just listening to Africans teach each other how to manipulate genealogy to make it seem like they're not African. And they're the true indigenous people. Yeah, I guess, I mean, you know, at this point, what you gonna do, bro? Like, let them try. I mean, I don't mean, fuck, man. I don't know what the fuck, you know. I mean, it's just so silly to me to even be in a circle talking about that. Like them actually thinking that. What up, Spartacus? Everyone wants to be from this land because they know they're going back to theirs, or at least that's what I think. Yeah, for sure. Brown Ray Q. Hey, by the way, if anybody gets unsubscribed, know for sure that it isn't me. No channel owner can unsubscribe you guys. Like, no channel can do that. I think as far as I know, no channel can do that, man. Like, no matter how unhappy you are, you can block people, but you can't unsubscribe people from your channel because you don't like them. It's just, I think that's a fact. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but anyhow, going back to the topic, before I totally get distracted on that, just make sure you guys subscribe, okay? Just make sure you guys subscribe. Go back to it. It isn't me. Anyways, going back to the topic, why am I bringing up these similarities? Because you're going to see the hatred of these people towards the Palestinians. What do you think is going on in Iran right now, bro? You think that stuff isn't hitting home? You guys have no clue what's going to happen in August. I've said it earlier this year that you're going to start seeing things happen in August because that's around the time frame. I got off the topic, but I mean, we're right there. And just like he said, look, what's going on over there is going to happen here. What's going on over there is going to happen here. 2023, hey, man, they're going to start shooting you. They're going to start killing you. They're going to start putting you in concentration camps. Not just concentration camps. They're going to start shooting you in the street. Okay. Like Palestinians? Yeah.
That's imperial boomerang in a nutshell. The same methods of policing that are being used on Palestinians to enforce occupation are coming back to us.
U.S. police are training in Israel, and that's something every American should be concerned about.
Gaza is a weapons testing facility for technology that will be eventually used against us all.
I think we're going to see those deportation numbers ramp up as we get more and more people online, working for ICE, going door to door.
I have been to Israel where ICE agents and DEA agents and other three-letter agencies trade with the Israelis, and they bring those tactics back here. Reckon that we export, we bring it right back here.
U.S. law enforcement, including police department and immigration officials, have been trained by Israeli agents.
I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a U.S. citizen.
For her seat in Illinois is preaching here because
it's becoming increasingly clear that law enforcement has become more militarized, treating the people they're supposed to serve and protect as a hostile foreign population. Part of the reason why is that since the 90s and especially after 9/11, U.S. law enforcement, including police departments, the FBI, CIA, and immigration officials, have been trained by Israeli agents. Thousands of law enforcement officials from all corners of the country have traveled to Israel to learn police strategies and exchange tactics. These trips became increasingly common after 9/11 as pro-Israel groups used the so-called war on terror as an opportunity to push for a closer, unconditional alliance with Israel, which had marketed itself as the world's leading counterterrorism expert. So who runs these exchanges? They're organized by pro-Israel groups like the Anti-Defamation League, which calls itself the world's leading anti-hate organization. The trips are funded privately as well as through grants from the Israeli and U.S. governments, including the Justice Department. The ADL boasts that they've trained more than 15,000 law enforcement professionals. Police departments treating American citizens who are exercising their constitutional right to protest as though they're under occupation. Officers in Ferguson used the same U.S. manufactured tear gas and flashbang devices to disperse crowds that Israeli forces regularly use against Palestinians. Israel's massive surveillance system has inspired U.S. officials, so much so that after a former police chief visited Israel in 2008, his city adopted its techniques.
The imperial boomerang has already taken shape.
Take the murder of Renee Nicole Good. The administration is demanding that you believe something that's completely different from what you can see with your own two eyes. They accuse her of
terrorism
and say that she
weaponized her vehicle
and that she was stalking agents who then feared for their lives. ICE is behaving how Israel does every time they kill a Palestinian child, doctor, journalist, or parent. We describe it simply. Every accusation is a confession. Everything ICE has done before and after killing Renee Good make the parallels almost too hard to ignore. For one, both the Israeli army and ICE are unimaginably violent, often unprovoked. Both have a knack for ramming people's cars or pulling people out of them, brutally arresting and assaulting common people as if they're dangerous threats, and blocking doctors or ambulances from reaching their victims. In Palestine, Israeli soldiers oversee a vicious apartheid system. In the US, masked agents demand people's papers, beat up kids at Target, and march around towns as if they're scoping out another country for the U.S.
Are you guys paying attention? Are you seeing the similarities? They've been telling us for quite some time. I've been sharing this with you guys for almost 4 years now. Since 2022, late 2022, I should say, 2023. So about 3 years, 3.5, so to speak. I mean, honestly, man, nobody was really talking about it like I was back then. No one. Nobody was making the connections. I was actually talking about what was going on up here, what was going on in Mexico, bringing the Bible, considering what was going on in Palestine. I was the first one actually talking about that stuff, man. Nobody was really, you could see like each one in its own genre being talked about, but nobody was talking about it all like what we've been sharing. I mean, for y'all that have been following, you should understand and know that I ain't bullshitting, or else you'd be listening and be like, that's not true, you're lying. Nah, it's a fucking fact. I've been talking about this for 3 years now.
US to attack. In addition to smearing victims as terrorists, they both build pretexts to justify even more violence, even against kids. Both, after acting in a way that causes any normal person to be outraged, then howl that they're the ones with the right to defend themselves.
That guy acted in self-defense.
Right, in self-defense.
Both use propaganda videos to not just lie, but completely reframe reality.
Sadly, many just don't see it. Per NBC News, 12 people.
See it, bro. They don't see it, and it's so fucking sad that you motherfuckers don't see it. But you want to know something? I'm at least glad that you guys that been watching do see it and do care about what this is. So hopefully y'all can continue passing the message. All right, guys. So that's it pretty much. You guys have a good night. No, I'm just kidding. No, just joking. All right, we're gonna get to this, man. Now again, I'm gonna let this brother cook right here. And again, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. So anybody that supports that genocide going on over there, you can go fuck yourself. Anybody that voted for that shit to continue, you can go fuck yourself. You and your mama, you should go fuck yourselves. Nobody, no child deserves to die. No older woman, no older man, nobody in disability, nobody in need of medical attention should die that way. Nobody should be starved to death. You motherfuckers that stand on some, oh my God, we are the pillar of the law. We are the law. These illegals are breaking the law. Right. While you guys are internationally fucking smashing humankind. And that's not breaking the law. And how is that even biblical? Based on your fucking fucked up white boy Jesus or even the black one. Let's begin. Hope y'all enjoy this.
Hey everyone, as you know, I'm a science communicator who explains science and debunks science-denying frauds. Quite the Venn diagram exists between anti-science propaganda, predatory capitalism, Christian nationalism, and Zionism, which means I end up bringing up Israel from time to time. Zionists hate that, so they attack me constantly, like what happened recently with a guy named Destiny. Let's talk about him. If you don't know who Stephen Bonnell, aka Destiny, is, he's a media personality who takes to defending liberal and progressive viewpoints on most political topics. He sounds smart enough when debunking MAGA talking points, and if that's all he ever did, you'd be hearing nothing negative about him from me. But that activity is dramatically overshadowed by his unrelenting Zionism and support for the never-ending parade of human rights violations being perpetrated by the genocidal ethno-state that is Israel. Whether he is being paid by Israel or is genuinely just dumb enough to have fallen for Israeli propaganda and is in too deep now to admit it, I can't say. But he recently decided to poke the hornet's nest by doing a particularly slanderous live stream about me, accusing me of being a Jew-hating neo-Nazi. It's called Professor Dave Goes Mask Off. And the thumbnail says, "These fucking Zionists," where Zionists is covering the word Jews, implying that I really just hate all Jews. In it, he's reacting to my third and most recent video exposing Avi Loeb, the astrophysicist.
I'm going to try not to stop it so much because I want the video to flow. But no, I've listened to him many times, and no, what he said in his video was, if you're calling me anti-Zionist for debunking your scientific lies, then I don't know, like that's just an excuse everybody does. So you're saying just because I correct you, now all of a sudden I'm an anti-Semite? Like, for real, bro? So it's okay for you to lie to humanity, but not for us to correct you. But if we do, oh shit, that's blood libel? For real though. For real? That's all he said. Let's continue. Now, this guy, Destiny, he's a left-wing supporter, supposedly, but yet supports, loves the genocide in Palestine, in Gaza.
And charlatan, in which, amidst breaking down his endless lies about science, I point out yet again in passing his ties to the Zionist lobby and how he employs Zionist tactics of gaslighting and playing the victim to deflect when his fraudulence is exposed. I'll just play you Destiny's intro stinger to his video so you can get a sense of it. The blatant manipulation, opportunism, and perpetual victim complex is par for the course when dealing with disgusting Zionist frauds like him. Anyway, as much as they want, and if anyone exposes those lies, they're automatically an anti-Semite.
What, bro? This guy reaches so hard. Holy shit, he's obsessed.
I'm not sure if you noticed, but the whole world despises your ideology. The world knows your gaslighting and your Hasbro tactics. Shouting anti-Semitism at everyone that hurts your feelings is just going to hasten your demise tenfold. So keep it up, you worthless Zionist pile of filth.
And I didn't mention Judaism. I said Zionism. Get a grip. This kind of like rhetoric right here, you know you don't. This is Nazism right here, right? Deception and victimization are like the two key pillars of kind of neo-Nazi belief. It's the idea that Jews are secretly behind the scenes controlling everything to deceive you, and they deceive you about that control. And then the self-victimization is they constantly harp about the Holocaust. Oh my God, we get it. But the reason why they have to harp about the Holocaust is because they have to center their victimhood so that they have an
First of all, Professor Day, your dude that you're defending, you fucking little tweak, okay? He was the one that called him anti-Semite first. Like, he initiated that. That's why he's like, oh, here we go with the fucking Zionist card again. That's exactly how he responded.
Infinite blank check, basically, to deceive you and to control society. It's kind of crazy to just, but whatever.
Yes, he is literally calling me a Nazi. Deconstructing this farce will come at the end of this video, but we have a lot of context to set up and information to get through first. Honestly, so many people have asked me to make a video formally summarizing my stance on Israel, and this was an excuse to do it, while also highlighting what a douche this guy is. Beyond his nauseating defense of Israel, he also has some really bizarre skeletons in his closet that I was able to come across. Hornet's nest, remember? But we will get back to him in due time. Now, many of you are aware that this is not the first time I've been harassed and slandered by Zionists, not by a long shot. Right after the genocide began, for several months I was spending way too much time on Twitter, relentlessly combating Zionist propaganda being disseminated by hordes of paid influencers whose job it was to brainwash the masses and manufacture consent for genocide. You've never seen propaganda anywhere in your life like what was being vomited up at that time. A fabrication of 40 beheaded babies, which Joe Biden himself publicly claimed to have seen photographic evidence of, only to later walk back and admit that no such evidence exists since it's not a thing that happened. Fabricated claims of a baby being cooked in an oven, endless claims of rape when in fact it is Israel that systematically rapes Palestinian prisoners in the most brutal manner imaginable.
Not anti-Semitic because it's a fact. It's reported. I mean, for God's fucking sakes. You guys can look this up. Do you understand what? And by the way, that the same thing happened to me on Facebook, bro. It's kind of like the Impala, 1958 Impala. You got these negros over there like, oh, we're indigenous, and just like, dude, you just get tired of seeing the same old echo chamber. It's like it's bad for your health. But I just had to log off of that shit. Like, fuck no, I ain't going to Facebook again. Listen, I got caught up in that circle, man. You know, it makes sense why he's gonna say what he said because they actually like blocked his account.
Behind-the-scenes clip of a Lebanese short film used to claim that Palestinians were faking the war crimes against them, yielding the birth of the disgusting term Pallywood. Claims of immense networks of Hamas bases underneath hospitals to justify the bombing of every single hospital in Gaza, only to provide zero evidence of such bases after the fact, except a few planted guns several hours after entering and a list of terrorists that was really a calendar. A tidal wave of lies in the form of social media activity that was viewed by many millions of people. Endless dehumanizing rhetoric to garner support from the West for a totally pre-planned campaign of ethnic cleansing and land theft. At any rate, influencers were being paid to disseminate the narratives that the state had settled on each day. I was shitting all over these disgusting frauds day and night for several months, and the wrong people noticed, so they dogpiled on me and got my account suspended. People often note that you can find some really egregious anti-Semitism on social media, so my tweets must have been even worse than those of actual Nazis.
He wasn't even saying stuff like this. Like he was just bringing facts. Documents, pictures, you know what I'm saying? Like real reports. He wasn't going around saying like Jews are the pedophiles. Look at the Ashkenazi Jews, yada yada yada. I mean, maybe. I mean, are you asking me? I don't know. They seem like it, but that's not what he was doing.
In order to merit suspension, but those people are very confused. Zionists love anti-Semites. They quietly celebrate their presence on social media because their existence fuels Israel's victimization narrative. Israel can bomb anything they want, shoot any child in the head, steal any land, but they will always continue to be the victims. Scary anti-Semites who want all Jews to die, whether a particular instance being referenced is real or not, are a key facet of this narrative. So that's not what gets targeted for suspension. What gets targeted is anyone who is effectively combating and exposing the state-sponsored Hasbara narratives, which I was doing with a passion. So I was booted from the platform, which honestly was a relief more than anything else, as this activity was starting to take a toll on my emotional well-being, and then their campaign to smear me began. First, the social media activity. This actually started before my account was terminated. Hundreds of tweets like this, very obviously scripted and disseminated for all the lemmings to copy and paste. Pretending to have been followers of mine, regrettably they must unfollow because I'm a Nazi. It's all quite unconvincing. They do this all the time. You can always find clusters of scripted copy-paste tweets, like this recent campaign that Destiny would probably enjoy. Then came the harassment on YouTube. Thousands, and I'm not joking, literally fucking thousands of these for weeks. These came from the bot farms that Israel employs to shift the narrative on every platform they can. Optics are everything, and even this very blatant artificial activity can skew things in their favor to some degree. But that's just the beginning. Organizations like StopAntisemitism.org and Canary Mission are a form of weaponized retaliation against those who speak up for Palestine on social media. I was named Anti-Semite of the Week, along with countless actors and activists like John Cusack, Susan Sarandon, Mark Ruffalo, Roger Waters, Cynthia Nixon, Greta Thunberg, Bassem Youssef, Mamdani, of course, basically anyone who draws significant attention to Israeli crimes against humanity, thereby posing a challenge to the Hasbara narrative. You know, horrible, vile anti-Semites like Miss Rachel, the children's content creator who scandalously requested on social media that Israel stop bombing children, and who can be found singing songs with Palestinian double amputee toddlers. How dare she humanize children who have had their legs blown off by inhuman monsters? As part of these smear attempts, founder of Stop Antisemitism, Leora Rez, and other wastes of human life enact brutal campaigns to ruin the lives of whomever they target, doxing them, and doing whatever they can to get them fired from their jobs, especially for medical professionals. For me, there was not much they could do. I'm self-employed. They tried to smear me on LinkedIn, but nobody gave a shit. Eventually, they move on. But perhaps with how much I've finally been talking about Israel in my YouTube content, as opposed to simply tweeting about them, a second wave of attention is coming my way.
Hit it hard at this point, but quite frankly, it's the same thing as what's happening here. All right. So, for example, you want to defend the brothers that got killed, right? The 52-year-old brother. What do these people say? Oh, are you supporting these illegals? You're not supporting the officers, the law. They're breaking the law. If they would have just stopped, they wouldn't have been shot. Completely ignores what they stood for since supposedly 1776. You know, their whole constitution and the fucking rights of human. Fucking irony of life. When it smacks you in the face and you realize how stupid you've been for quite some time. Hopefully this reminds you, fam, because guess what? Just like how they look at them, they look at us. I've shared with you enough videos when I first started this. Just like I look at them, they look at us. Netanyahu made it fucking clear. Hey, I'm glad you put the wall up. Just like we put the wall up to keep illegal immigrants away from our country, so did Trump. Good for him. Yeah, he said that. Let's begin.
To demonstrate how no amount of criticism of Israel will ever be enough, we're going to talk a lot about how awful Israel is. Truly, they are the most potent force of pure evil in the world since the Nazis, ironically. The level of disdain they have for human life is beyond comprehension. Not simply the ability to murder tens of thousands of children like they're termites, but the delight they express in doing so, and the overwhelming support that is expressed by Israeli citizens for this genocidal activity. More than 80% of Israelis support the complete annihilation of the Palestinian people. It is a twisted, psychotic society that celebrates the destruction of innocent human life. They proudly announce it openly, their desire to wipe Palestinians and other Arabs from the face of the earth.
אבל בוא נאמר...
תעשי את זה, אני מכיר אותך קצת, תעשי את זה אם תוכלי.
יכול להיות, אבל בוא נאמר ככה, הצבא צריך לגמור, כמו שעבד בצפון, הוא צריך לעבוד בדרום, ולהשאיר את עזה ללא ערבים, ולהקים התיישבות יהודית בכל חבל עזה. כאשר אומרים ביישובי העוטף שרוצים לראות את הים, זאת אומרת, כדי לראות את הים צריך שלא יהיו לא בתים.
שאני מבין במקורות שלנו, עם הפראים האלה לא היה שלום, אין שלום ולא יהיה שלום. לא שאני לא רוצה שלום, גם אני רוצה שלום. ארץ זה שייכת אך ורק לעם ישראל, וכל עזה וכל לבנון, כל זה צריכים לשאוף לנקות את הארץ מרחבי הגמלים.
I don't care about Gaza. I literally don't care. For all I care, they can go out and to swim in the sea.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם, ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
עזה לא תחזור להיות מה שהייתה, וחמאס לא יהיה. חסל את הכל.
שחיילי צה"ל הם מעל הוויכוח הזה, ואי אפשר להאשים אותם. מה שנעשה בעזה, חבל שלא נעשה גרוע יותר. אין בלתי מעורבים. כל מי שיעמוד בפניו וירצה לחבל במדינת ישראל, כולל אם הם ישלחו ילדים, ישתמשו בחברים שלך, ישתמשו בילדים, יצטרכו גם להרוג אותם כי אין ברירה.
Have you seen enough? No, I don't think you have. Israeli lawmaker Yitzhak Kreuzer says there are no innocent children in the West Bank, defending the bloodthirsty behavior of settlers that murder helpless Palestinians and steal their homes on a regular basis with total impunity. The West Bank, no Hamas here, just Palestinians living under a brutal system of apartheid. Whether they are children or women, it doesn't matter to me. Journalist Shimon Ricklin says Gaza should be wiped from the face of the earth. Journalist and politician Yinon Magal says it's time for Nakba 2, which means another massive wave of killing Palestinians and cleansing them from their territories to acquire these lands for Israel. Revital Gottlieb of the Likud party says, bring down buildings, bomb without distinction, stop with this impotence. You have ability. There is worldwide legitimacy. Flatten Gaza without mercy. This time, there is no room for mercy. You think this hatred is reserved only for Palestinians? Think again. Israeli Minister of National Security Ben Gvir says that for every tear of an Israeli mother, 1,000 Lebanese mothers must weep. All of Lebanon must burn. Are you fucking listening? All of Lebanon must burn? This is not Israel-occupied Palestine. This is a sovereign nation with territory that Israel has lusted after since its inception, and which it is currently successfully stealing. But back to Gaza, Israeli military official Eliyahu Yassian says there is no population in Gaza. There are 2.5 million terrorists. There is no meaning to giving them warning missiles. Israeli politician Moshe Feiglin states outright that Hamas is not the enemy. It's every child in Gaza. Every child, toddlers, babies. Babies are terrorists. Anyone who would say this is a sadistic monster. There are entire databases filled with hundreds of instances of very clear incitement to genocide. They openly announce that they intend to commit genocide, not just random nut jobs on social media. Israeli officials, legislators, military personnel, decision makers, they all state this openly, the desire to completely wipe out the Palestinian population. Take a second and read this crap. This is a drop in the bucket. You listen to any of these assholes for long enough, you get some shit like this about human animals, or Amalek, who their God commanded them to destroy in the Torah, or whatever other rhetoric they can think of to justify the extermination of an entire race of people. Just like the Nazis did to the Jews in calling them vermin, parasites, rats, whatever they could do to dehumanize them. It's identical. They proudly announce genocidal intent and then later deny the actualization of that intent when accused of the genocide they are committing, gaslighting the world with rhetoric about how the IOF is the most moral army in the world, rather than the reality that they are actual terrorists. Here's Israeli Minister for Social Equality announcing how proud she is of the ruins of Gaza, and that every baby 80 years from now will tell their grandchildren what the Jews did. They take pride in the complete annihilation of a people.
אני אישית גאה בהריסות של עזה, ושכל תינוק, גם עוד 80 שנה מהיום, יספר לנכדיו מה עשו היהודים.
And you don't have to take the word of officials. You can ask the soldiers themselves. They proudly brag about children they've killed.
We were looking for babies, but there is no babies left.
What babies? Say that again. Say it again.
No, maybe I killed a girl, she was 12, but I'm looking for a baby.
Do you like Palestinian children?
Yes.
Does it make you feel good when you bomb a hospital? Really?
Yes.
You guys kill children in Lebanon, is that okay?
Yeah, this is okay because of Hamas.
What about the children, the babies?
The babies is good too.
Really? In Lebanon?
Yes, in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Iran.
Really? It's okay to kill babies in Iran?
Yes, yes.
And
okay.
in Gaza?
Yes.
And in Lebanon?
See, how is this even defensible? What sane person, like really, what sane person could defend this? How the hell could you sit here and act like, oh, you know, I go to church every Sunday. I pray to Jesus. I love my mama. I feed the poor. But these goddamn illegals here in Palestine and over there too, or here for us and over there for them. You guys think that this is far-fetched? It's fucking happening now. Just like it started with them. You know, it wasn't overnight. They destroyed what they're doing today. But they started off with propaganda, government, isolation, separation, concentration camps, discredit their constitution practically because, you know, y'all are vermin. And you Mexican illegals, or if you're an illegal, you don't belong here. That's how exactly they see y'all. You know, I mean, it's just unbelievable, bro, that they're willing to do that to people. And nobody here says nothing about what they say over there. Nobody. Y'all just staying quiet. What's up, brother? Good to have you here, bro. Angel G33509, good to have you here, brother. Yeah, for sure, dude. Hey, Joe, Ray, Jock. Oh, it's all good, bro. Get some fish for me. Let's continue.
Yes.
You really believe that?
Yes.
Really? Have you ever killed any Palestinians? Have you ever killed any Palestinian children? How many?
I don't know.
You don't keep track?
No, but I can.
היינו במערב, זיהינו 3 אובייקטים מתקרבים לעברנו לשטח שהוא שטח השמדה. ואנחנו קיבלנו את הפקודה לחסל את 3 האובייקטים כי הם נכנסים לתוך שטח ההשמדה שלנו. חיסלנו אותם עם מג ונגר, עם 2 נשקים. ולאחר מכן התברר שזה היה 2 ילדים בגילאים בין 10 ל-12 והאימא שלהם. ואנחנו היינו צריכים לחשב אותם בסופו של דבר, הפעלת פקודות.
זאת אומרת, הרגתי ילד. אפילו לא... אני אומרת הצבא, לא אומרת... לחשוב על זה קשה. אותו זמן הייתי חושבת על זה מלא ו... עכשיו רק צוחקים על זה. לא שאפשר לצחוק. זה נהיה פשוט שם, כי זה חלק ממני. סיוון, זה לא יורד. מה לא יורד רותם? את לא מבינה, אני נסע כבר עם סבון. מה לא יורד רותם? הדם מהידיים. יש לי דם על הידיים, אני לא יודעת מה לעשות.
Of course, this is a drop in the bucket. Countless children in Gaza have been targeted and executed by snipers. There are so many accounts from both local and international doctors who received child after child with a single precise bullet wound to the head. Again, soldiers state outright that they intentionally murder children and that they're specifically ordered to do it, while officials continue to put on a show and act offended when it is suggested that soldiers do the things they openly admit they are doing. This is the definition of gaslighting. And how do Israeli soldiers and officials justify this grotesque behavior? Naturally, they have divine permission for it. They state this openly all the time as well. They are the chosen people, so they can do whatever they want. They say Israel is allowed to ignore the directives of international law in any field it desires. International law doesn't apply to them, so they should be able to commit genocide. They say they are entitled to violate the sovereignty of foreign countries. This means that any land they desire is theirs for the taking. This is announced proudly, publicly, and supported by a citizenry that has been brainwashed into believing that they are genuinely superior to other peoples.
ומה קורה כשאתם רואים ילד ערבי? מה אתם מרגישים? קצת זעם. זעם? מה קורה כשאתם פוגשים ילד חילוני? למה אתם מרחם עליו כשאתם ילד חילוני? מה הוא מפסיד? הוא לא הולך בדרך כלל. כשאתם חושבים על ירושלים בעוד 10 שנים. כולם חרדים? לא כולם חרדים, חלק חרדים. כולם יהודים, ויש גם ערבים שהם עובדים. תהיה משיח, הבנתי, כן, מה אתה אומר? שמלחמה, כל הערבים ימותו. וחלק מהם יהיו עבדים. קיבלתי את כל הסיפור שלנו. תודה רבה. תמשיכו להצליח ולראות כאן בישיבה.
Arabs will be slaves. They are inferior. Babies are terrorists. This is Israel. This is not some fringe political group. This is the whole fucking country. This is how they justify the slaughtering of countless innocent people, a thing that has been going on for almost 80 years now, but never with such ferocity as the past 2.5. And because the media will never show you these victims or describe their slaughter with accurate language, I will. This is who Israelis are talking about. Look at these people. Look at these children. That anyone could look at these children and call them terrorists that deserve to die is beyond comprehension. Israeli officials who carry out this activity are rotten to the core and beyond saving. They are twisted and evil. But any member of the global public that can listen to these politicians or their puppets on social media say these things and look at these children and remain resolute in supporting Israel is also a lost cause.
And you know, this is that section of people, excuse me, predominantly evangelicals that believe this shit and push this shit, right? I mean, you could say maybe Catholics, but not like evangelicals. And they honestly believe that they were given the privilege and the fucking power by supposedly God to come and invade and completely decimate and rape and slaughter the majority of our indigenous people in the Americas. This is the same concept. Bible told him so. God told him so, right? Same concept. What's up, brother? Good to have you here, Sindog. Let's continue.
Anyone who supports Israel is either completely brainwashed or a racist piece of shit. They bought into
fucking second now. Hold on a second. Hold on, bro.
Fuck that puto.
Look at this shit, bro. Anybody supports any genocide, bro, you can go fuck yourselves and your mama, man. I cannot believe it. I don't care what color, nationality you are. You don't deserve, especially children and elderly women and elderly men and people that are disabled and people that need medical attention. And all of a sudden you want to starve them too, bro. It's the same shit that happened to our gente when they got here in 1492. The same exact way. Slaughtered, raped, murdered, hung, lynched, and starved. Oh, and by the way, fed us to dogs. And it wasn't just the white man that did this, by the way. It wasn't just people that looked like that.
To the brown people bad narrative that has been pushed in the media and entertainment for decades in order to justify American imperialism in the Middle East. They fell for precisely the same dehumanizing rhetoric that led to the Holocaust. If you support Israel, you are a Nazi. There is no meaningful distinction between support for Israel today and support for Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s.
Remember, I shared with you guys a video, must have been like maybe 6 months ago, the similarity, the connection between Nazis and the Jews in Germany. That I mean, come on, man. You see, but if you don't read and you just got and you just go by propaganda and hate, then obviously you're gonna find whatever stupid ass Reddit link and make it believe like it's true. No, you gotta actually read this shit and look at it slowly and go back to it and like, well, exactly why, where, and how. If the Germans say that only 10% of the population at that time was like Jews, that was like 600,000 Jews. How can 6 million then be decimated if there was only 600,000 Jews? Go back and look at the statistics of 1930. How many Jews were living in Germany in 1930? And they'll tell you 10% of the amount would have been like 600,000. I think my opinion is the same people just dressed up in the color blue, just like they were before in the color red.
In the age we live in, the horror show that is this genocide can be viewed by anyone with the courage to see it. It is the first genocide in history that has been broadcast globally in real time on a daily basis. It is undeniable unless you deliberately look away. So-called liberal Zionists, which is an oxymoron, are in denial of this reality. Their everyday lives consist of endless mental gymnastics to avoid witnessing the carnage. Their social media feeds are filled with propaganda peddlers convincing them that none of it is real. Genocide isn't real. If you don't go and look at it yourself, then you can pretend it doesn't exist. Well, I'm going to show you to the best of my extremely limited ability what is happening. This video almost certainly will not be monetized.
How is that possible, brothers? How is it possible that you could be so heartless and you could see kids or purposely do that to children? This is a war. These are war crimes. When you go to war, there's rules of engagement. You target their facilities, whatever it has to, whatever like is connected to the actual, military, not necessarily complex, I mean, technically military tools, military locations, stuff like that. But when you attack the city, bridges, hospitals, the people, those are war crimes. And then you poison their water. Those are war crimes. And then if you say, hey, man, that's not right. Oh, you're anti-Semite or you're blood libel. Yeah.
I am fully aware of that and I don't care. But I can't show you the true extent of the carnage as that would violate YouTube's community guidelines and my channel could get deactivated from a single violation of this nature. This means that while I can tell you about archivegenocide.com and I can take select clips from there to place in this video, I can't show you the thousands upon thousands of videos of Palestinian children lying dead in a ditch with their guts.
For yourselves. Stuff is happening. What you guys go to, distractions in life and shit, bills and kids, whatnot. This was going on with them over there. While you're complaining about what you may not have, even though you may have a roof over your head, you got food, you got stuff. That's what's happening over there.
Pouring out of their abdomens, of Gazan parents clutching the lifeless bodies of their progeny in their arms, crying out to their God with a despair that haunts me every time I look at my own children. And I certainly can't show you what was never even captured. The countless bodies instantly vaporized. The countless bodies still trapped under rubble that will never be recovered. The countless bodies with limbs zip-tied and shoved into mass graves, with dirt bulldozed on top of them, often still alive, shrieking as they get their last glimpse of daylight. There is no way for me to physically illustrate for you the true extent of this genocide. And that brings us to the main point of this video. Dickheads like Destiny deny the fact that Israel is committing genocide. This is beyond comprehension. Any honest person with the courage to look can instantly see what has been going on in Gaza for nearly 3 years now, and it is objectively genocide. Anyone who wants to complain about how woefully unqualified I am to make that assessment, they can shut their dumb fuck faces, because you don't have to take my word for it. Every single human rights organization in the entire world has labeled this a genocide. Let me play a short clip from Mehdi Hassan, since he will be able to get this point across quite succinctly.
Gaza has been cut off from the world for almost 3 years and subjected to war crimes, ethnic cleansing, genocide. But if you say that, Israel and its supporters will accuse you of lying, of being anti-Semitic, of perpetrating a blood libel. So let me debunk this argument in less than 60 seconds by asking one very simple question. Start the clock. Do you believe Benjamin Netanyahu, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich about what's been happening in Gaza? Or do you believe the UN Independent Commission of Inquiry, the UN Special Committee, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, the UN Special Rapporteur for the Occupied Palestinian Territories, 14 other UN Special Rapporteurs, the former UN Humanitarian Chief, UNICEF, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, Gisha, Physicians for Human Rights Israel, Doctors Without Borders, Oxfam, Save the Children, Christian Aid, Action Aid, the NGO Air Wars, the NGO Action on Armed Violence, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, and its president Melanie O'Brien, the editor of the Journal of Genocide Research, Dirk Moses, the author of the book What is Genocide, Martin Shaw, the leading Israeli Holocaust scholars, Omar Bartov, Amos Goldberg, Daniel Blattman, Raz Siegel, Shmuel Lederman, the Norwegian Refugee Council, the Danish Refugee Council, Refugees International, the International Rescue Committee, the former head of Israel's military, Moshe Yalon, the former head of Israel's Shin Bet, Ami Ayalon, the former deputy head of Israel's Mossad, Amran Levin, and the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert. Who do you believe, them or the Israeli government? Who do you think is lying? All of them or Benjamin Netanyahu?
But Mehdi, didn't you know that all of those organizations and all of those people are Hamas? The entire world hates Jews. Only Israel is telling the truth. Everyone else is a lying anti-Semite. Case closed. Anyway, more effective than just listing organizations, we can go through the specific details which demonstrate that this is objectively genocide. Let's start with the death toll. You'll see propaganda peddlers on social media cracking up about how it's the only genocide where the population actually increased. Disgusting. It's impossible to get a true count, but any official numbers you'll see that hover around 70,000 killed are so far off the mark it's insane. And anyone complaining that these are fabricated Hamas numbers is brainwashed. An independent study in The Lancet estimated well over 180,000, half of which are children, and that was in July of 2024. 2 full years.
180,000, half which are children. Wow. 90,000 children. 90,000 children. Yeah, he's cooking them. What's I have here, bro? I mean, what is it, 230-some thousand? And the evangelicals go to church every Sunday and preaching to Jesus, thinking he's going to come down from some funny sky and shit. But in his name, they are killing. I will give you that.
Ago. Previous estimates had been much lower because they only took into account bodies that were identifiable and directly correlated with airstrikes or gunshots. But thousands of bodies have been totally vaporized, leaving nothing identifiable behind. And thousands more bodies are still buried under rubble from all the carpet bombing or in still undiscovered mass graves. Additionally, so many people have died from wounds, from general poor health, from starvation, from freezing to death because they sleep through the winter in paper-thin tents, from disease because there is near zero health infrastructure. All of these are victims of genocide. They are deaths caused by the total and complete destruction of a territory and everything a society needs to survive. And Israel hasn't stopped bombing Gaza for a single day since July 2024, ceasefire or not, so the number is much higher now. Israel has murdered hundreds of thousands of Gazans, likely at least 20% of the Gazan population. That's genocide. It is a maximization of casualties.
This is what this country is supporting. This is what Republicans support. This is what Democrats support. Because maybe they wouldn't, Kamala Harris wouldn't have gone to war with Iran, but this wouldn't have stopped in Israel, or in Gaza, I should say. Look at that, man. People used to live there. That used to be a neighborhood, a colonia, you know? People walking around shopping, neighbors saying hello in the morning, you know, arguing over dumb shit. Like normal life used to be here. Supposedly, God told them to do this. Isn't that the same thing that the people in 1492 said to us too? This is what they did to us too. Total destruction. Total destruction. And they're supporting this total destruction to this very day.
While still maintaining their version of plausible deniability. They also specifically targeted hundreds of journalists, well over 1,000 doctors, and other key personnel publicizing the genocide and keeping citizens safe. That's genocide. The continued use of white phosphorus and other illegal weapons as documented by Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International. That's genocide. It's very easy to get much more granular with it as well. Francesca Albanese of the UN Refugee Agency published a report way back in March of 2024 that outlined a determination of genocide, and she has continued to update that report ever since. It documents explicitly stated intent for genocide, the long list of violations of international law, systematic torture and sexual abuse of prisoners with no legitimate charge against them, a total erasure of culture, the stripping away of any sense of dignity for an entire people. Israel really hits every single point on the genocide checklist. For writing these reports and sharing these determinations with the UN, Francesca has faced a volume of harassment and threats to her personal safety that I can't even begin to imagine. And that's coming from someone who is harassed every day and receives threats sporadically. You heard Mehdi's list, but let's expand a little. Human Rights Watch cited starvation as a weapon of war and the creation of conditions calculated to bring about the physical destruction of the Palestinian population. Doctors Without Borders cited the testimonies of doctors reporting that they routinely received children who have been shot in the head or chest by snipers, as we mentioned. UNICEF reported that essentially all of the million or so children remaining in Gaza need mental health and psychosocial support due to immeasurable trauma, especially the thousands who have lost limbs, usually amputated without anesthetic, and those who have lost their entire families. The International Association of Genocide Scholars stated that the legal definition is cleanly met, citing war crimes and crimes against humanity. Jewish Voice for Peace, Amnesty International, even several Israeli organizations. It's a long list of organizations, and
you know, in case you guys haven't connected the dots, they have been dying because of the oil, the supreme power. That's why. Why do you think Iran's in war now with them? Because of the oil and power. Lives have been destroyed because of oil and power, man. Just because of luxury and fame, I guess, huh? Fuck, dude.
The list of criteria that qualify this as genocide is never ending. 90% of Gazans displaced, absolutely all farmland unusable, continuous blocking of humanitarian aid, starvation and life-threatening malnutrition, mass executions of healthcare and rescue workers. Israel is a club of genocide overachievers. If you deny the fact that Israel is committing genocide, you are no different from a climate change denier or an anti-vaxxer or a fucking flat earther. You are denying the very obvious reality that we live in. Did you hear that, Stephen? Then let's talk about the complete demolition of the entire territory. Israel wants people to believe that they're the most moral army in the world, taking every imaginable measure to protect innocent civilians, while exclusively targeting filthy Hamas terrorists with laser precision. This is total horseshit. I mean, again, they proudly announced that they want to murder every last child in Gaza, so anyone who believes them when they say the opposite is a moron. But more importantly, there objectively is no precision whatsoever to the destruction in Gaza. More than 78% of Gazan infrastructure has.
Honestly, fam, I'm kind of I'm out of words, man. I only saw 20 minutes in, right? And then you start seeing this shit, dude. It's like, wow. I mean, fuck, bro. Oh my God. You know, you see this in the movies, man. You see this shit in the movies. Oh, you know, but not in fucking real life, man. Shit, this is so fucking shocking, man. Wow. Oh, shit.
It's been demolished by relentless carpet bombing. Every hospital, every school, every bakery, every city demolished. Once refugee tent camps were set up, they bombed those too. They tell them to evacuate even though they have nowhere to go, and then bomb them anyway. They give them safe routes to evacuate, and then bomb the safe routes. They designate safe spaces, and then bomb those too. And when they occasionally let in food, they shoot at Gazans when they try to get it. It's complete annihilation combined with twisted psychological torture. It's very easy easy to look at image after image of the destruction to see that there was zero regard for precision. They weren't aiming for some imaginary terrorist. They were never doing anything but destroying Gaza from day one. You're not convinced by these images? Too small in scope? Let's get a broader top-down view.
Presta atenção nessa cidade, ó. Uma cidade normal, né? Tá cheia de pessoas, avenidas, cheia de construção. Eu vou mostrar para vocês como é que isso daqui é uma foto de satélite de 2023. Agora, olha como é que ela tá agora. Cadê a cidade? Cadê? Cadê os prédios? Cadê as pessoas? Vou tirar o zoom para você ver o tamanho dessa área destruída. Olha o tamanho dessa área destruída. Olha isso aqui. Isso aí é a cidade de Rafah, no sul da faixa de Gaza. Fica na fronteira com o Egito. Essa área destruída, só nessa área destruída ao sul, toda essa área cinza, toda essa área que eu der um zoom aqui, eu vou ver uma área destruída. Essa área aqui é maior do que a área que foi destruída pela bomba de Hiroshima, a bomba atômica de
Oh, did you guys hear that? This area here is larger than the area destroyed by Hiroshima bomb. The atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. If you're a Christmas Christian, blood is in your hands. Because you believe that these people were supposedly God's people. Now, I could sit here and pause for a moment and share some scripture and prove and look at us all the books and this and that. I'm not going to do that today. I want to share with you what I was just like, wow. And the media here, your news, your TV, you know, your politicians, they're not worried about that. No, you know what they're worried about? The fucking Mexicans, supposedly, taking their jobs, so they got to get deported. Well, they're distracting you with something painful. They're slaughtering people. Way worse right now. Once again, they destroyed, let me read it. This area here is larger than the area destroyed by the Hiroshima bomb. The atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. I believe he may be a Portuguese dude, I don't know, Brazilian or from Portugal. But let's continue.
Hiroshima. Qualquer lugar que eu aponte aqui, eu vou ver casas destruídas, destruição. Uma das coisas mais horrendas da história humana. E isso aqui vai assombrar a humanidade por muito tempo. E o holocausto da Segunda Guerra se repetiu. Infelizmente, e ninguém conseguiu impedir. E até agora os responsáveis por esse crime contra a humanidade estão rindo à toa. Fica aqui esse registro.
And you want to know why those piece of shit motherfuckers got away with it? Because a lot of those piece of shit Nazi motherfuckers were scientists too, you know, in high positions of power, and they came to the United States of America and worked for the government here and made atomic bombs or made certain, you know, I guess you could say high tech machinery, right? You guys, you embrace Nazis, you piece of shit motherfuckers. That's why we got Nazi goddamn racists here today. Because your kids are the ones voting for trompetas. That's your Project 2025 people. The fucking Nazis that came here from Germany when you know, they knew enough to where like, hey, well, we'll take benefit from you fucking SS scientists and SS, you know, soldiers. I'm sorry, SS, which ones? I forget what they were fucking called. The main guys. Not all of them got killed over there. Do your history. And they tell you in movies too.
Porque é uma coisa assustadora e como o olho que tudo sabe, tudo vê, não apaga a imagem, essa é a imagem real. Contra fatos não há argumentos. O que aconteceu aqui foi um genocídio.
It doesn't get any clearer than this. Gaza is now an uninhabitable wasteland. Absolutely nobody can keep a straight face and say that this level of destruction had anything to do with targeting terrorists while keeping civilians safe. We can know this with even greater certainty by looking at what they're doing in Lebanon. Village after village, town after town, not individual buildings, the entire town. This has nothing to do with terrorism.
Man, and Democrats and Republicans aren't saying shit about this at all, bro? You piece of shit, Democrat motherfuckers. Nobody trusts you, bro. That's why, man. And you fake fucking Republicans all standing, no more wars. We don't want to support Israel. What are you doing? You're benefiting from it. And you ain't saying shit. You're going to work, making money, shutting the fuck up, worrying about your own bills, right? And then, what's that? Ya están aquí en México. Esos Israelis. México es para México nomás. You think they fucking care? They're doing this, and nobody is saying anything. No country standing up. Other than maybe the Houthis that got mad and then when they attacked Iran, but prior to that, who was helping them? Nadie, güey. Nobody. And they hid all of this from you. You saw the actual videos. They bombed homes. Like, they have vineyards and shit, and, they're grass, they got, some acreage, nice space, nice green grass, and boom! We're pushing you out because we want this. And Republicans or Democrats ain't doing shit. No. We're all enjoying our own world, right?
This has nothing to do with Hezbollah, whose label of terrorist organization is laughable to begin with. Hezbollah and any other group that is labeled terrorists by Israel are simply people desperately defending themselves against Israeli terrorism. Hezbollah formed as a direct response to the Sabra and Shatila massacres, for example. Israel is the aggressor state, slaughtering anyone they please, and anyone who stands in opposition to that is labeled a terrorist. These groups are the rebellion in Star Wars. Israel is the fucking empire. Do you think Emperor Palpatine would label Luke Skywalker a terrorist? Of course he would. Supporting Israel is like rooting for the fucking Death Star. But again, this level of destruction has nothing to do with Hezbollah or any other supposed terrorist group. This is demolition. This is an erasure of a people, their lives, their culture, to make room for Israeli expansion. A huge chunk of Lebanon is Israel now. They will build, settlers will come, and that's the end of it. Then they'll steal more land tomorrow, and the cycle continues. They'll tell you themselves if you ask them. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich sure did.
המלחמה בהיבט הנדל"ני. אתה כבר התבטאת לא פעם לגבי חידוש ההתיישבות היהודית ברצועת עזה. שאלה פשוטה, איפה מבחינתך צריך לקום היישוב הראשון ברצועה?
אני מודה שלזה לא ציפיתי, אני מוכן להתחיל מהתוחמת הצפונית, אבל סתם, תדעו לכם, זה לא מצחיק, יש תוכנית עסקית, תקשיבו לי טוב, יש תוכנית עסקית שנבנתה על ידי אנשים הכי מקצועיים שיש, שנמצאת על השולחן של הנשיא טראמפ, לאיך הדבר הזה הופך לבוננזה של נדל"ן, אני לא צוחק, מחזיר את עצמו. אגב, אני התחלתי משא ומתן עם האמריקאים, ואני אומר את זה לא בצחוק עכשיו, כי אני גם דורש, הרי אנחנו שילמנו המון כסף על המלחמה הזאת, אז אנחנו צריכים להתחלק, איך אנחנו עושים אחוזים על שיווקי הקרקע.
We paid a lot of money for this war. So you so-called Americans, so-called, as much as you hate these people, you're supporting this. All of you. You all voted for this. You either voted Democratic or Republican, but you fucking voted, and you voted for this, because either way, this would have happened. The Red Caps just decided to do it much uglier. Blood is in your hands, Babylon. I detest everything about this fucking place, bro. With regards to the mentality and the hatred that these people have towards everybody else, I cannot understand how their fucking soul is so empty, man. It is so empty. No matter how much they have, it'll never be fucking full.
בעזה, אבל עכשיו לא בצחוק. את שלב ההריסה, שהוא תמיד השלב הראשון בהתחדשות העירונית, עשינו.
Oh, was on mute? Oh, shit. Fuck, I thought I wasn't. My bad. Let's continue.
עכשיו צריך לבנות, זה הרבה יותר זול.
It's not funny. There's a business plan. Thanks to Trump, the real estate mogul, cosplaying as the president of the most powerful nation on earth, it's gonna be a bonanza. When you decide that you want to steal some land, first, you demolish everything. That's always the first phase. If people are already living there, kill them by the hundreds of thousands if you want. What's the difference? They're not chosen people like us. Murder them, displace them, whatever you have to do. Destroy absolutely everything in the region until not a single building is left standing, then go in, clear the rubble, and build luxury condos or whatever the fuck you want. Easy peasy. Do you understand now what has been happening since October 7th? Do you understand that it was never about terrorists or protecting Israel or getting back hostages or anything of the sort? Not for a single second was it ever about any of those things. Israeli officials didn't give two shits about hostages. They were an excuse to keep bombing. There were deals on the table early on that involved a ceasefire in exchange for all of the hostages being returned, and they refused. In October of last year, they got all of the hostages back that they didn't kill with their carpet bombing. That still didn't stop them. And I wish I had saved my tweets from early in the genocide, but I didn't, so you'll just have to take my word for it. But I was saying all of this. From day one, I knew that this was premeditated ethnic cleansing and land acquisition. Belligerent imperialism in the 21st century. Everything I was saying came true. That Gaza would become Israel, that they would do it to Lebanon too, and I was silenced for it. Anyone who didn't have their head up their ass could smell it, but if you couldn't see what was happening then, do you see it now? Smotrich says they paid for this war. They paid money to fabricate pretense for a military operation with the singular goal of clearing out Gaza to keep it, with Lebanon and Syria to follow shortly after. Now that they're most of the way there with Gaza, an American military base is being built within the territory, and plans are underway to round up remaining Gazans and put them into concentration camps while they clear out the rubble and start to build new Gaza. You heard that correctly. Zionist Jews are going to put people in concentration camps. And you heard the other thing correctly too. New Gaza is already being sold to the American public. Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump's husband and haunted marionette, unveiled the plans for New Gaza, which will be luxury resorts as far as the eye can see, with some land carved out for Trump as a thank you for greenlighting all of this.
Remember, keep in mind that Rubio, a punk-ass wannabe Cuban B or Cuban B motherfucker, he also said that the expansion of colonialism is going to restart again. Because there's a lot of anti-colonialist, like basically countries that don't want to be colonized anymore. Yeah, he's like, nah, we're anti that. We want to be pro-colonialism. Seriously.
And guess what? If you were one of those folks thinking that Israel's actions are way over the top, but what are you going to do because October 7th? Well, I'm going to take that away from you as well. Israel almost certainly knew what was going to happen, and they did nothing to stop it. The music festival taking place just 3 miles from the Gaza barrier was moved there from its original location at the last minute. Military response to initial activity was delayed for hours in a way that is difficult to justify. Israeli soldiers were even ordered to cancel all patrols along the Gazan border on the morning of October 7th, with no justification given.
6:30 בבוקר, 7 באוקטובר, אתה במוצב.
אצלנו ה-7 באוקטובר מתחיל לפני 6:30. אני הייתי לוחם במחלקת מרגמות בגדוד 13, גולני, ובאותו לילה אני, יותם סרור, הסמל שלי תמר בן יהודה, זיכרונו לברכה, שלושתנו עושים לילה לבן. הרשינו לעצמנו בשבתות וחגים במיוחד, לעשות לילה לבן עד לכוננות עם שחר, ואתם יודעים, יש לנו זמן לישון מחלקת מרגמות עד לכוננות הבאה. אז ב-5:20 בבוקר אנחנו יושבים ליד הקשר כדי לא להעיר מאזין, והסמג"ד שלי, ניר בוינפלק, שגם הוא נפצע קשה, וברוך השם הוא שרד, פתאום עולה בקשר בהודעה מוזרה. כל התחנות, לא יודע למה, לא יודע איך, משהו בסגנון הזה, אין סיור בגדר עד 9 בבוקר.
באיזה שעה זה?
5:20 בבוקר.
כל תחנות נשארים כאן משנה, אז מבחינת קרקע ואויב אין לנו דברים משמעותיים. מבחינת כוחותינו יצאה הנחיה מהחטיבה שעד השעה 9 בבוקר מול הערכת המצב, אף כלי לא מגיע לבורמה. ואני חוזר שוב, עד 9 בבוקר ואל מול הערכת המצב, אף כלי לא לבורמה. נמצאים בנקודות זינוק אחוריות, מהנחיית חטיבה, לא יודע בדיוק למה, לא שואל יותר מדי, זאת ההנחיה, זה מה שאנחנו עושים.
קצת לפני שהכל מתחיל.
They were told to, hey, get away from that area. You know what I mean? We don't want nobody to be guarding it. We'll give you more instructions after 9. You believe that shit? Wow. So basically, like, hey, let them attack. This will be a good reason for us to go to war. Or maybe it was self-inflicted. You know? Wow. Seriously. Crazy.
איתמר דופק לנו פרצוף כזה של מה? ואתה יודע, אנחנו חיילים פשוטים סך הכל, לוחמים, לא מפקדים ולא קצינים שנוכל לשאול שאלות, זו הוראה של הסמג"ד. מקבלים את הפקודה הזאת ולא שואלים שאלות, הורדת פקודה רגילה. ובאמת, אחרי שעה, 6:30, פתאום אזעקות.
תראי, אני אגיד לך את האמת, אני חייתי עם זה מה-7 באוקטובר ומאוד חששתי לדבר על זה, וכשהגעתי לכנסת, זה היה אחרי תקופה ששאלתי כמה אנשי צבא בכירים, מה בעצם קרה שם. והיו כאלה שבהתחלה אמרו לי, תשמע, היה איום צליפה של נ"טים על הגדר, לכן לא רצינו לשלוח חיילים, כדי שלא ייפגעו. ואז עם הזמן קצת נפל לי האסימון, ואמרתי, רגע, אם יש איום צליפה, איך יכול להיות שאני סך הכל 200 מטר מהגדר, לא יודע שיש איום, איך יכול להיות שחברים שלי נלחמים בלי וסט, עם תחתונים וגרביים, ואף אחד לא יודע שיש משהו, אנחנו סך הכל 200-300 מטר מהגדר. ואז זה עוד הפעם ישב לי בראש, ובאמת הזמינו אותי פתאום לכנסת. הרגשתי שזו ההזדמנות באמת לפתוח את הנושא הזה ולדבר עליו ולהבין בעצם מה קרה שם. והנה, את אומרת, כמו שאת אומרת, הרבה אנשים זה נשמע להם תמוה, ומה בעצם קרה שם. ואנחנו עוד פעם חוזרים לזה, ואני אגיד לך את האמת, איילה, אני חי עם איזשהו חור במוח, מאז ה-7 באוקטובר, שמשהו בלב מרגיש לי תשמעי, אני לא יודע מה שם, אני רוצה להבין.
A little coincidental, no? Beyond this, hundreds of the civilian casualties were the fault of Israel due to both friendly fire from incompetent teenage pseudo-soldiers as well as the Hannibal Directive, which involves killing their own citizens on purpose to prevent their captivity, including a tank firing on a kibbutz. This is how much Israeli officials value the lives of their citizens. When you remove military and police casualties, which are absolutely fair game, as well as friendly fire and Hannibal Directive deaths, you're left with a number of civilian casualties that are exceeded by Palestinian deaths on any decent day for Israel since October 7th, and countless days before as well. Gaza was the most heavily monitored population on the planet. Israel knew that this was their opportunity to get 9/11 levels of support from murdering Arabs, and they took it, plain and simple. Now, if you thought that Israel was only a menace to its Middle Eastern neighbors, think again. Israel is a threat to the United States and every single American too. Let's go over the countless ways that Israel is specifically ruining the US. Let's start with some recent news. Israel is trying to force the United States to formally merge the American and Israeli militaries. Did you hear what I just said? Israeli officials are trying to force America to merge its military with the military of a foreign country, the one committing genocide. Moving from aid to partnership is how Bibi tried to sell it on Fox News, and even the Fox News anchor said,
"It certainly brings up some issues of sovereignty, but we'll have to work that out later."
While you're sitting there thinking about how incredibly fucked up this is, let me explain how it's way more fucked up than that. First, you know all those billions of tax dollars that we send to Israel every year, the ones that are used to murder children? Now that money will not require congressional approval. It's just part of the federal budget that the executive branch can arbitrarily provide at any time and in any amount. Next, the government is trying to bring back the military draft. If that were to happen, soldiers would be forced to fight for Israel. That would mean that young Americans could be drafted against their will and forced to go murder Arabs for Israel, while also potentially just getting murdered by Israel themselves via the Hannibal Directive. And finally, this move would make the Pentagon totally dependent on Israel. Israeli AI systems would be integrated into all the highest classification functions of the US military. So no American intelligence could be withheld from Israel, including that on its own citizens, and any attempt to defy Israel's wishes by any future president could be regarded as a military coup. I need you to really wrap your head around the treachery here. Israel is another country, a totally separate country from this one. If it were suggested that the American military merged with that of Switzerland, that already would be fucking insane. Now replace Switzerland's army with a literal terrorist organization that rapes and tortures and murders civilians every single day to expand the borders of a colonial ethno-state that violates international law. This is not a dystopian novel. This is real life, and it is happening. Zionists in Congress are trying to sneak this bill through as part of a defense spending bill. This is happening because public opinion is so firmly anti-Israel that Israel has to find ways to thwart the public and entrench itself in the American power dynamic in ways that will be nearly impossible to undo, no matter how much we protest and boycott. This is a hostile takeover of the American government by a foreign entity. This is Netanyahu trying to place himself formally in charge of aspects of the American government. Every politician supporting this motion is guilty of treason, and nobody's doing anything about it. What's next? Well, it is common knowledge that Gaza is a testing ground for experimental weapons. New weapons are routinely tested on Palestinian guinea pigs. Who will they be used on next? Whoever Israel wants, including American citizens. The techno-fascism that is taking over the American government is nearly indistinguishable from the Zionist lobby. Take a look at Palantir, co-founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. Viewers of my channel need no introduction to Thiel. He's a disgusting gremlin who directly finances an overwhelming percentage of the anti-science propaganda I debunk, whether coming from puppets like Eric Weinstein or Christian theocrats promoting intelligent design. CEO Karp proudly describes himself as the most publicly supportive CEO of Israel and never shuts up about how awesome Israel is. Thiel is right there with him. Palantir has a strategic partnership with the Israeli Defense Ministry, providing AI models for the IOF. Basically, Palantir is a key component of Israel's ability to commit genocide. Guess what else Palantir is up to? Huge contracts with the Department of Homeland Security to give ICE the exact same tech that Israel uses in order to perform its own human rights violations, while also lending its tech to federal agencies who use data mining software to aggregate information from every single American. Palantir is a major entity pushing us towards an Orwellian police state here in America. More on that in a moment. Let's see, who else? Elon Musk, he has a direct relationship with Bibi, agreements with Israel regarding Starlink, AI collaborations, plans for an Israel-exclusive autonomous Tesla rollout. Mark Zuckerberg, along with Musk, both routinely censor pro-Palestine content on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Posts, stories, and entire accounts are regularly deleted, most notably anything depicting Israeli human rights violations. If content is not outright deleted, viewability is altered such that it is seen only by followers and does not show up in general feeds. This is in direct response to requests from Israel's cyber unit.
In 2025, an investigation published by DropSite found that Meta complied with 94% of takedown requests issued by Israel since October 7. That same year, The Intercept reported that YouTube removed 700 videos published by official Palestinian human rights organizations.
And we heard, frankly, from high-level officials at Facebook who said, my job is to defend Israel. You know, so like, this isn't some sort of wild conspiracy. This is a thing that, you know, is happening in broad daylight, and there's nothing we can do about it because of these consolidation of these monopolistic companies that manage the entire global internet space.
Why would tech oligarchs who fancy themselves above the law comply with requests from a foreign government? Ponder that. Then, of course, there is Zionist billionaire Larry Ellison, who purchased TikTok in January of this year. This was the platform where young people were most consistently learning about Israel's war crimes, so the Zionist lobby decided to put a stop to that. Ellison has long-standing personal and political ties with Israeli leaders, and he has personally donated tens of millions of dollars to the IOF, as well as investing in AI data centers in Israel. I don't even need to tell you that once Ellison acquired TikTok, pro-Palestine content was censored almost completely, and prominent Palestinian journalists were abruptly banned, in a last-ditch effort to maintain a sliver of support among the younger demographics. But don't worry, social media manipulation is just the tip of the iceberg. Israeli tech firm Cognite is installing its system FalcoNet in American police SUVs. This is tech that pretends to be a cell phone tower, such that every phone in the vicinity connects automatically and all its data is compromised. Texas, New York, Florida, and New Mexico are all currently using this tech. A foreign company has built invasive surveillance technology that tracks American citizens in American streets. A foreign company has unlimited access not only to private data of American citizens, but also the details of how American law enforcement surveils its population. And the contracts are redacted. Nobody can see what data is being collected, why it's being collected, how long it's kept, or who has access. Mass warrantless cellular tracking without consent and with zero transparency. This would be unconstitutional even if being done by the US government, but for Israel to be doing it here is fucking insane. What could this lead to? Well, to see what could happen to Americans tomorrow, we only need to look at what Israel is doing to Palestinians today. Check out this newest insanity. Unmanned cranes with machine guns are being used to murder Gazans. UNICEF reported a 12-year-old girl shot in the chest while in a tent, another 5-year-old girl killed in her home. These cranes fire randomly and continuously at tents and exposed neighborhoods. Where will we see these next? Major intersections in American cities to protect all the patriots from dangerous Antifa? Preparation for the crackdown on American citizens has already begun. Anyone who criticizes Israel is being monitored by the FBI. A new legislation known as the National Security Bill grants the government broad powers to prosecute almost anyone under terrorism charges simply for doing routine journalism or peacefully protesting. Countless supporters of Palestine have been arrested under such pretenses already. Same with protesting ICE. 8 anti-ICE protesters were recently each sentenced to 30 to 100 years in prison. One of them wasn't even at the fucking protest. He just moved a box of pamphlets. And yet they will spend their lives in jail. Why? To establish precedent for labeling the activity of individual protesters as part of large terrorism networks. This is the blueprint for the legal framework being built around criminalizing protests, expanding terrorism rhetoric, and cracking down on any dissent from the twisted goals of those in power. This is how you transform political opposition into a security threat, peaceful protest into terrorism. Want to jail subversive individuals with zero basis? Just shout Antifa and your wish will be granted. This is an arbitrary category that can be expanded at will to encompass any political affiliation deemed unsavory to those in power. Doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. You're part of terrorist Antifa because they say so, and you go to jail for life. This is how you make people afraid to organize and resist authoritarian rule. On January 6th, people smashed windows at the Capitol. They assaulted police officers. They literally hunted down lawmakers. They erected actual gallows and called for the public execution of Mike Pence, who was in charge of the count. It was a coup that attempted to interfere with an election and install a dictator. What do they get? Jail time for being domestic terrorists? No. Trump pardoned them all and then tried to award them billions of dollars of taxpayer money for damages. What serves the state is good and heroic, no matter how obviously terroristic in nature, and whatever defies the state is terrorism, even if it's just holding a fucking sign or preventing ICE domestic terrorists from murdering civilians. This is already codified. The National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, or NSPM 7, officially directs federal agencies to aggressively investigate and disrupt groups and individuals that they decide are linked to political violence, which just means a legal way to target nonprofit organizations and absolutely any activist they please. Watch lists of suggested subversives already exist. What are the targets? Anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, extremism on migration, race, and gender, opposition to traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. All of these labels are in there. I'm not making up a fucking word of this. It's a goddamn fever dream. What is this? This is the complete dismantling of free speech. The Constitution guarantees that you can't be imprisoned for things you say, for views you hold, or for protesting things. This administration is taking a big dump on freedom in the Constitution, and they're doing it for Israel just as much as the rest of the oligarchy it can barely be distinguished from. Other countries are doing the same thing. A new law in Britain gives sweeping powers to executive leadership to determine terroristic threats and imprison protesters, criminalizing journalism and activism, using broad provisions to put people in jail for a decade or more. Germany is on board as well, approving a bill that makes criticism of Israel a criminal offense, punishable by 5 years in prison. Supporting a cause or quoting a source that is arbitrarily deemed a terrorist threat will be a crime, and countless people will begin going to jail for defending basic human rights. What is the justification for such draconian measures? Always, without fail, anti-Semitism. The boogeyman, the hyperinflated threat that justifies ruining countless lives, an embodiment of the toxicity it pretends to fight. Oh, and what will be the last resort if the American public simply will not accept foreign rule? Just ask Israeli defense researcher Benny Sapti. He recently tweeted this: maybe USA needs another Pearl Harbor or 9/11 to remember who is the enemy and who is the friend. Sounds like a threat, doesn't it? Yes, Israel can and would commit a terrorist attack on American soil, blame it on Arabs, and gaslight the world into supporting a renewed wave of violence on whomever they please, with full American economic and military support. Sounds too far-fetched? Think again. Israel has a history of this behavior. In 1967, Israeli aircraft and torpedo boats attacked the USS Liberty in nearby waters and killed 34 Americans. They thought it was an Egyptian warship, of course, since those usually fly American flags. This was an attempt at precisely this type of false flag operation. Sink an American ship, blame it on Egypt, and lure America into war on their behalf. Benny knew he fucked up by saying the quiet part out loud, so he edited the tweet to seem less obvious, but it was too late. The internet never forgets. Anyone who thinks that Israel would only massacre Arabs and never white people clearly isn't paying attention. Look at what they did very recently to the European aid flotillas. Hundreds of European activists were detained, beaten, tortured, and raped. Israel did it proudly and brazenly with full knowledge that there would be no consequences for them. And if serious consequences ever did befall Israel, they can always resort to the Samson option. This is Israel's military strategy of massive nuclear retaliation as a last resort if the country is facing imminent destruction and existential collapse. Basically, if Israeli officials think everything has gone irreparably south for them and they are about to be destroyed by literally anyone, they will just nuke everybody. Israel refuses to confirm or deny having nukes, and they refuse to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which means they aren't obligated to be inspected for nukes, which means they absolutely have nukes. Meanwhile, over here in America, every effort is being enacted to ensure that nothing can slow Israel down in its quest to destroy everything. Anything deemed a threat to unchecked belligerence and imperialism must be eliminated. The International Criminal Court regularly calls out the war crimes of both Israel and the United States. So Trump and Bibi, along with thirsty Marco Rubio, are trying to dismantle the ICC entirely. The ICC makes light of American war crimes in Afghanistan, the Caribbean, Venezuela, and of course literally everything Israel does, so they are deemed a radical threat to democracy. Here's Marco whining about American sovereignty just because someone dares push back on Western barbarism and crimes against humanity. Basic accountability is tyranny to the gaslighters who don't want to stop bombing and murdering and seizing land. Marco and Bibi do look cute together though, don't they? And of course, any country reliant on US assistance that does not go along with the campaign to destroy the ICC will feel the blowback. This is just a continuation of the trend of this administration, dismantling absolutely any.
I honestly don't believe that there will be another so-called president. I don't know, man. Let's see what happens this midterm. Because he can make the excuse by like, oh, we're at war. Sorry, I'm going to cancel the midterms. Boom. And you'll just see it all start trickling down. But remember, I've been saying it for ages, bro. I've been saying it. You guys that have been following, you're just collateral damage. At the end of the day, they didn't care about you. You're just collateral damage. And this story hasn't stopped at all since 1492. But we're here now. And the way that it's all developing and everything's manifesting, the way that it's been basically spoken, right, with the word. I mean, you're seeing it. Massive earthquakes. Japan got another one. Venezuela got a heavy one. You guys not listening to like the actual, weather reports? Massive heats, massive floods, massive rains, massive tornadoes. In 2nd Ezra 15, it says that when visuals, meaning when merchandise becomes really cheap and society thinks everything's going to be good, like your 99-cent stores and your Walmarts, you're going to think, oh, yeah, that's it. We're in those moments. It's always going to be like that. That's when shit's going to start changing, meaning inflation, wars, rumors of wars. This is fucking nuts, man. Let's continue.
Institution which serves the global citizenry at the behest of a twisted oligarchy. Want to pollute more? Destroy the EPA. Want to poison more? Destroy the FDA. Want to do more war crimes? Destroy the ICC. It's a trend, and it's one I've been highlighting in my content for a while now. None of this is normal. This is not business as usual. This current administration is the beginning of the fascist takeover. It is happening now. They are trying to eradicate democracy. Whoever
like Spartacus, remember we had mentioned the Fourth Reich. I mean, I've been sharing this for a while. The two-headed monster. When you guys go back and read that book, Jews and Muslims of British Colonial America, that should give you a very good fucking idea. And then you start learning about how Freemasonry was involved. And then you find out that the history they told about 1619 or some other bullshit story or slavery and all that is total lies. You know what I mean? And you'll start seeing things for what they are. So when they show up to your face or at your door, it's not surprising. You're like, yeah, I was wondering when you'd show up.
Whoever doesn't see that is blind. Anyone crying about TDS can fuck themselves. This is the moment where we either fight all of this while we still have an outside chance, or we submit to tyranny and accept fascist authoritarian rule. There is not an ounce of hyperbole in anything I've said. The infrastructure for the authoritarian police state is being built and implemented right now. Today, people can sense the changes being implemented by Project 2025 personnel. Public opinion regarding Israel has shifted irreparably even among conservatives. The oligarchy knows it, and they are doing everything they can to secure authoritarian control before this term is over.
That's the thing. I think there's already been, so far, I don't know if you mean about the one, unless Japan had another one, but they had one like a day ago, 2 days ago, right? Venezuela had 2 in a row, both at 7 point something. Japan's was 7 point something as well. That's 3 7 point something earthquakes in 1 year. I don't know if that's ever even happened. You guys can look it up.
Over and they lose their chance to clamp down. These monsters will not stop until they get the techno-theocratic dystopia they're lusting for. Orwellian surveillance with flock cameras on every corner to track every citizen and everything they do. ICE thugs terrorizing every neighborhood. Digital IDs required to access any website. The prison is being built around Americans as we speak. And the campaign is beginning to ruin the life of anyone who tries to organize against it. With these acts that can arbitrarily label any subversive activity as terrorism, they will destroy livelihoods. They will send ICE agents or drones to murder people in broad daylight. Sympathy for the victims of Israeli terrorism are now terrorists according to the state. Israel has their hands in absolutely all of this. All of it. There is not a single nook or cranny of any of this shit that doesn't involve Israel. Israel is pure poison, and Zionism is the ideology behind it. An ideology of Jewish supremacy, ethnic cleansing, genocide, deception, and self-victimization. Okay, are we all up to speed on how Israel is an existential threat to all of humanity and the most vile source of pure evil since the Nazis, and how they are objectively committing genocide like 100% without a doubt, and anyone who says otherwise is either paid by Israel or a brainwashed idiot? Awesome. Now let's get back to Destiny and talk about his rose-colored relationship with this belligerent imperialistic ethno-state.
Honestly, I'm pro-genocide. Like, it sounds really shitty, but like, I think that Israel should just draw up its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like, that's about where I'm at.
You just think the Palestinians should just pack up and Native American the fuck out of there?
The problem is that it seems like there is a hugely...
He said, you telling me the Palestinians should just native the fuck up and get out of there? Yeah, so he would say the same thing about you and I. This little tweak, this little piece of shit tweak. Oh, I got a gun on my wall. I'm fucking tough. Typical, bro. This little tweak would say the same shit about us. Fuck it. Just fucking blow up these Mexicans. Who cares? Just get rid of them. As I'm playing a fucking video game.
general hostility to Jewish people across really the entire world, definitely the Middle East.
Right out of his own mouth. He is pro-genocide. He supports the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. He thinks they should either be killed or removed, and that land should be Israel, because the whole world is just a bunch of dirty anti-Semites, so poor Israel gets to do genocide. Ethnic cleansing is super awesome, according to Destiny. Did you think I was exaggerating about this piece of shit? I'll take your apology now. And don't worry, we're just getting started. This is a fucking rabbit hole.
Again, this was a group of civilians, including children, who were waving white flags. They had done everything that Israel had told them to do. They were in an Israeli-declared safe area, and they were in the process of evacuating to a different safe area. So what did Destiny think about this? Well...
The interview complete, our cameraman walked away.
So like why, so he is interviewing the guy who's about to go do some shit to get himself killed, basically. That's what's gonna happen. We know from this point, that's what's gonna happen. So he walks away, gets back a little bit, and then he sets up behind this thing, right? Is this concealment, I guess? Not cover, concealment, right? Because I think the tank's over here. So now he can capture the footage right here. He sees the guys walking, knowing that they're about to get shot, because that's what's gonna happen. And then eventually they get shot and everything is, this is it. There's like act 1, 2, and 3. It's like all here. I'm sorry. The tracking live movement shot of the lady running up to her dead husband? Like, what is this? But they probably were hoping to get shot at, or maybe, so you're saying the woman was acting? I don't think the woman was acting. She probably was sincerely sad. Her husband got fucking killed. But I think they were farming TikTok clips. I mean, remember, these people, I mean these people, actually, yeah, like have suicide bombers. So it's not that big of a stretch to imagine that
these people have suicide bombers. White people, you know, like you guys that are here specifically, right? I know you're all over the place, like Europe and shit. But you specifically are sexual pedophiliac fucking cannibals. Jeffrey Dahmer is one prime, beautiful example of that shit. Pedophiliac, fucking cannibalistic serial killer. That's exactly what we have here. You guys go berserk, skinny little tweaks like you with a shotgun like the one in the back on your wall, and you go around and blasting everybody. And then you'll eat them and take them home. Well, Ted Bundy. Would you like me to go on and on and on and on and on and all the matter of fact, what the fuck, Kansas City explosion? Remember that? Remember the kids that were fucking shot in Texas? How many children have been killed by white people? How many? I want to know. Come on, man. Somebody tell me, please.
They'd be willing to get shot. Who is this guy? Do we even know if he's actually fucking dead? Like, we don't actually see the wound. It seems like they don't have any problem showing anything else. Like, why just the white flag so that it can look all bloody? Like, show us the actual gunshot. You have no problem showing other violence, right? What Pallywood means is that you're capturing intentional video footage to sell a certain narrative about what's going on, basically. And you kind of ignore the fact that, like, okay, well, they're in a battle zone in an area they were told to evacuate from, and they're going back to try to release somebody that was captured. Like, that's, like, Pallywood, I think. You're essentially provoking the enemy to take what is largely a justified action and then trying to say that it's like indiscriminate civilian killing.
That's right.
It's called a justified action. We saw images, videos of cities destroyed. You can't show the videos of the children getting destroyed. I know some people may want to see that shit. Go do it on your own. But he said, no, that's totally fine, you know?
When people are executed by Israel, especially in what is deemed a safe zone, they deserve it because they were farming for TikTok clips. They have to provoke Israel into violence because Israel would never be violent on their own. The rhetoric here is beyond vile. This is like telling a rape victim she was asking for it because of her short skirt, but 1,000 times worse. Anyone who uses the term Pallywood is a fucking monster. Once again, if you actually truly want to see what happens in Gaza on a daily basis, you can head over to archivegenocide.com and look for yourself. Bring a barf bag. People are ruthlessly slaughtered every single day, and the thousands of videos on that site are only a tiny fraction of the carnage that has been inflicted on Palestinians over the past 2.5 years. Pretending that they're faking it is identical to Holocaust denial, except way worse since this is happening today. Now here he is doing a fan meetup in Israel, giving advice to young IOF soldiers on how to hide their war crimes.
I do have this little worry that in the media and in the global, opinion, it's not such a good thing to be an IDF soldier.
It's not. It's absolutely. The opinion is really bad. Yeah. Here's the one piece of advice I'll give you, okay? If you're joining the IDF, okay? Leave your fucking cell phone at home and stop taking stupid fucking videos, okay? Because everybody's fucking you with them, okay? And if you see a soldier, okay, going through a fucking drawer, and listen, if you want to fucking wear a dress.
Let's just fucking leave the fucking phone behind and then just fucking ram kids with the fucking shotgun up their butthole and all that fucking disgusting shit that these people have done to people. Yeah, just don't bring your fucking phone when you're murdering children, raping women. Just don't bring your fucking phone, you know what I mean? Yeah, just don't look stupid. This is a Democrat. This is a liberal Democrat. You see what I mean? Republicans just do it much uglier. The blues Democrats, right? They just kind of kindly do it, but they don't really tell you. The same shit would have happened if Kamala Harris would have won. You would have seen this shit in Gaza.
So you think it's funny, just don't fucking take a fucking video picture of it, okay? Jesus.
Yeah, Destiny agrees it's cool to murder Palestinians, and when you're done, it's super funny to go through their belongings and even try on their clothes like a little trophy. If you didn't know that IOF soldiers do this all the time, now you know. Anyway, Destiny is totally on board for the post-slaughtering fashion show, but you guys, stop taking pictures and posting them to social media. You don't want the world to know what complete fucking monsters you are making a joke out of genocide. Keep it to yourself, okay? By the way, this little tidbit was part of a 2-week spree in June 2024 where Destiny went all around Israel interviewing dozens of Israeli officials and media personalities in what was very clearly an Israel-funded propaganda trip. Here he is with Eylon Levy, the shit stain who served as Israeli government spokesman during the first stretch of the genocide. So basically, he's the guy who sold the world on this genocide more than anyone else. He's the one who amplified narratives about beheaded babies and a baby in the oven on October 7th that definitely didn't exist. Hamas using Palestinians as human shields when that's actually what Israel does. The ultra-sophisticated Hamas bases under the hospitals that were never there, shouting about how anyone exposing Israeli propaganda is part of an anti-Semitic propaganda campaign. Destiny is right at home here, naturally. Here he is with Yishai Fleischer, an Israeli settler in the West Bank where Palestinians are brutally terrorized every single day as illegal settlements continue to expand against international law, and a Kahanist who served as a political advisor to Ben-Gvir. Here he is with Benny Morris, an Israeli historian who tried to whitewash the 1948 Nakba, which is the true beginning of this campaign of ethnic cleansing and dispossession of Palestinians. He also did a 2-on-2 debate with Benny against Norman Finkelstein and Muin Rabbani on Lex Fridman, where he spewed a bunch of Zionist bullshit and got humiliated by Finkelstein, which is well worth a watch. Then here he is with Yair Golan, former Israeli politician, Naz Daly, a content creator who whitewashes the occupation, Yossi Beilin, former Minister of Religious Services of Israel, Ofer Sheila, journalist and politician, and Shel Pfeffer, journalist and genocide denier, Yosef Haddad, genocide propagandist. That's not even the full lineup. He has long playlists with way more content, which beyond interviews includes palling around with IOF terrorists and even reenacting the stealing of a Palestinian's home. We won't dive into all that content today, but that's his little Hasbara field trip. Destiny was recruited by Israel to publish content to brainwash American liberals into denying genocide. Want more? Here he is mocking the death of Palestinian poet Rifat Al-Arir, who was targeted and murdered in an Israeli airstrike. He's a garbage human who deserved to be murdered for speaking out against genocide. And what a horrible father he is for having children absolutely anywhere, since Israel bombs literally everywhere all the time, including and especially the places where they specifically tell Palestinians to go.
People have been telling us that the Palestinians are starving to death for decades. People have been telling us since October 7th that no aid is going into a country that has been kept on a caloric deficit. And now here we are months and months and months in, where all the people dying for starvation. Something is not adding up here. The math doesn't work. Something is not right about the story that's being told.
Yes, Destiny is denying the objective fact that hundreds of Palestinians have died of malnutrition and starvation during this genocide. He asks where the dead people are and can't even bother to look. Sam Harris does this too, by the way. Another genocide-supporting piece of shit and incredible disappointment of a human being. Who knows, he may deserve a video at some point as well.
So you don't even deserve to be in that.
What do you want him to admit? What do you want him to admit?
Why is there a blockade in Gaza?
Yeah,
you tell me. Why is there a blockade in Gaza?
When you look at the fact that Israel is preventing cookies from going into Gaza, you know that it's not motivated by military.
Why were cookies being prevented from going in?
And
what were custom rockets fueled with?
Yeah, with cookies? Yeah.
With sugar and fertilizer. Yes, that's how they made the early rockets.
So we're going to deny Palestinians in Gaza sugar because it might be used for...
First of all, they're not allowed back in because they use more sophisticated rockets.
That's right. There has to be a blockade to prevent food from getting to starving Gazans because they will use the sugar to make rockets. That just came out of his dumb fuck face. Starving 2 million people to death is cool because we can't have tiny dinky little rockets damaging a bus stop while Israel continues to carpet bomb Gaza on a regular basis. Fuck me, what an asshole.
Genocide is a special crime that has two elements. One of the elements requires some kind of destruction of a people or taking away of their children or sterilization, something like that, an obvious thing. But the second part is a highly specialized intent to destroy a group of people in whole or in part. And that highly specialized intent is what makes genocide so unique. And there are so many things related to genocide that don't apply to modern military conflict that you should take note of, because when you start to apply genocide in the way it's being applied to Israel, it basically would be applied to every single conflict.
No, it wouldn't, you delusional asshat. Israel's genocide is not a military conflict. Palestinians don't have a military. They're a prisoner population being indiscriminately slaughtered while their land is demolished and stolen. That's why it's a fucking genocide. There is no conflict happening in the world today that better fits the definition of genocide that he just listed, and yet it doesn't apply to Israel because reasons. In this clip, he also states that the invasion of Rafah needs to happen, ethnic cleansing is not a real thing, he tries to deny the systematic sexual abuse of Palestinian prisoners. It's a fucking clown show.
You have statements going...
You understand, just as a real quick thing, you understand that transfer is not the same thing as ethnic cleansing, right?
You understand that Benny Morris has said that it's ethnic cleansing and that's its euphemism.
Hold on, no.
That's right. If Israel was to forcibly transfer all Palestinians out of their territories to keep the land for themselves, effectively cleansing the land of the indigenous ethnic group, that wouldn't be ethnic cleansing. How silly. My BFF Benny Morris told me so.
I think a broad general problem with Arabs in the Middle East is they genuinely believe Jewish conspiracies are like the underpinning of their entire understanding of the world. That Jews control all of the West, all of the banks, all the countries, and that's a thing that a lot of them believe. I don't know how relevant that is to their day-to-day life or how much it matters, but yeah, it's probably a problem.
This is a fucking insane thing to say out loud. Arabs in the Middle East have been dealing with Western imperialist aggression for their entire lives. Palestinians watched Zionist militias invade in the 1940s and murder entire bloodlines while stealing entire villages. They watched their land being usurped and given to settlers while a system of apartheid was built around them. There's no fucking conspiracy here. This is their personal lived history. Their family members slaughtered. Their homes stolen with all of their possessions inside. If someone came to your house with guns, murdered a few members of your family, and then forced the rest of you to leave with just the shirt on your back while they kept your house and all your stuff, your hatred of those people would not be based on any fucking conspiracy. And this is not ancient history. There are people still alive today that were displaced during the Nakba, and many more from 1967 when Israel did it all again. These are victims of Western colonialism and a cult of Jewish supremacy. But this kind of dismissive bullshit doesn't work on American supporters of Palestine either. People think Jews control the West and all the governments and the media and the blah, blah, blah. How silly and conspiratorial. Well, it's not Jews wholesale, it's Israel. It's Zionists, both Jewish and non-Jewish. They do have an outrageous level of control, most obviously in the media. The pro-Israel bias across nearly all Western media outlets is so blatant that to deny it is pure insanity. It's so self-evident that I don't even feel the need to expand on that statement. Then there are all the mergers. Did you hear about the latest one? Paramount, Warner Brothers, CBS, CNN, and HBO are all under one entity, owned by, can you guess who? Larry Ellison, the Zionist scumbag who bought TikTok, and for the exact same fucking reason. When Zionist oligarchs have this level of command over the media landscape, while also having their hands in military AI and all kinds of other imperialistic shit, it means being able to execute whatever heinous acts they want, and then completely controlling the narrative surrounding it after the fact. To say that the vast majority of mainstream media outlets are controlled by Zionists is not a fucking conspiracy theory. It's a statement of fact. You don't have to stop at CEOs either. Look at who is selected to disseminate the narratives. Editor-in-chief of CBS News is now Bari fucking Weiss, whose right-wing propaganda outlet, The Free Press, was one of the biggest mouthpieces for Israel in the past 20 years. And what did she immediately do when she got there? She gutted the outlet and ousted anyone with an ounce of journalistic integrity, including 60 Minutes correspondent and 37-year veteran Scott Pelley, who publicly proclaimed that Bari was hired to kill the place. With the ship now sailing where Bari wants it to go, guess who shows up on CBS News?
They're coming from the Pentagon, NASA, the CIA, the FBI, and the Energy Department. So let's bring in Avi Loeb, who now leads the White House UAP Council. Avi, what can you tell us? What's in these files? What are we looking at here?
Well, first, thank you for having me.
Avi fucking Loeb, the
so fucking comical right here. Avi fucking Loeb. Oh my god, bro. You know, because this whole bullshit about UFOs building pyramids and all that shit too concept, it's just white supremacy as well. That's discrediting the ability of the people that actually built those things. Let's continue.
Exact fraud I debunked that made Destiny cry about how I use the word Zionist excessively. Zionists take over CBS, hire a massive Zionist stooge to run the news, and they immediately host the Zionist fraud who spews bullshit about the UAP psyop coming from the government that is also held hostage by Zionists. Funny how that works, huh? Speaking of which, let's move on to the American government. To deny the overwhelming Israeli influence on American politics is even dumber than denying media influence. In 2024, AIPAC spent $126 million supporting pro-Israel candidates and smearing anyone who dares utter a word against them, which is why not a single Republican senator or representative, and even very few Democrats, will publicly oppose Israel. This is a foreign country severely influencing.
Hear what he said? Did you hear what he said?
Word against them, which
is
why not a single Republican senator or representative, and even very few Democrats, will publicly oppose Israel. This is a foreign country severely influencing U.S. elections and undermining the democratic process. This shit runs so deep that it even trickles down to positions that have nothing to do with foreign policy. Check out this clip from when Mamdani was running for mayor of New York. Hey candidates, first foreign visit as mayor, where would you go?
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
All of them except Mamdani would visit Israel. They're so excited and so proud to brag.
All of them are Democrats. Mamdani's a Democratic Socialist. But the rest of them are Democrats, which are funded mostly by IPAC. Interesting, huh? So if you would have voted for Kamala Harris, that shit would have still happened in Palestine. That's why I laughed at a lot of you people that hated our so-called Hispanics. Raza was voting for Trump for being stupid. I see that too. I get it. But you're like, oh, you should have voted for the black woman so she can go and kill kids in secret. It would have happened either way. You're fucking bullshitting, man.
Brag about how much they love Israel, the genocidal ethnostate, and how, as the mayor of New York City, it would be so important to them to visit Israel. Why? Why the fuck would they do that? This isn't the president, not the secretary of state, not even a senator, a goddamn mayor. It makes no sense. Only Mamdani had the balls to say that he would stay in the fucking city he is the mayor of like a normal person. When Israeli influence has infected American politics so thoroughly that it shows up in bizarre ways like this, you know the system is completely broken. Anyone who denies this is a gaslighting asshole. Well, Destiny is one such asshole, and it's finally time to listen to him talk some shit about me. Ready for this thing? Let's dive in.
I wish you'd mention anti-Semitism less. You have genuine important points to make regarding Zionism and genocide, arguably more, or important as debunking pseudoscience, but bringing them into all sorts of pseudoscience debunking just muddies the water. You help me deprogram from my scientifically absurd upbringing, and for that I'll forever be grateful. Please help others understand Avi is a grifter fraud without bringing Judaism into it one step at a time, mate. There's no muddying the waters here, sweetie. Avi is a Zionist douche, using the Zionist playbook of deception and victimization. And I didn't mention Judaism. I said Zionism. Get a grip. This kind of like rhetoric right here, you even know you don't. This is Nazism right here, right? Deception and victimization are like the 2 key pillars of kind of neo-Nazi belief. It's the idea that Jews are secretly behind the scenes controlling everything to deceive you, and they deceive you about that control. And then the self-victimization is they constantly harp about the Holocaust. Oh my God, we get it. But the reason why they have to harp about the Holocaust is because they have to center their victimhood so that they have an infinite blank check basically to deceive you and to control society. It's kind of crazy to just, but whatever.
That's right, folks. I'm a neo-Nazi for pointing out Zionist tactics of deception and victimization. All the deception Israel engages in to gaslight the world into supporting genocide, that's not real because Stevie says so.
I'm gonna play a little bit, and then we're gonna end this video. I want to show something, and then we'll close that, all right?
The victim complex they espouse, perpetually claiming to be the victims of terrorism while they commit heinous acts of terrorism, that's also not real because Stevie says so. In reality, there are no neo-Nazi tactics afoot here. Instead, there is only the Zionist tactic of irrevocably tethering Zionism to Judaism so that they can shout anti-Semite at anyone who points at their disgusting behavior. Any assault on Zionism must be an assault on Judaism as a whole because they say so, no matter how obviously impossible this false equivalence is. Zionism is not Judaism. There are countless non-Jewish Zionists serving Israel and reaping the benefits of its imperialism, and there are countless anti-Zionist Jews. Not that many in Israel, of course. We're talking about Jews around the world, but there are even some in Israel. There are even anti-Zionist, ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel. Want to see what happens to them? Serves those anti-Semites right, don't you think? No, I wasn't talking about the police officers beating up Orthodox Jews. That's not anti-Semitic, you silly goose. I'm talking about the Orthodox Jews standing with Palestinians in defiance of Zionist ideology. They're anti-Semites, obviously. Anyone who conflates Judaism with Zionism or anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, as Israel constantly does, and as Destiny just did,
Yeah, I have to show it to you, bro. Like, cause he goes into I may have to just let him play because he shows a DNA at the end, dude. Let's check it.
Is a worthless, anti-Semitic piece of shit. Zionism is anti-Semitism. I'm gonna say that one more time so that it sinks in. Zionism is anti-Semitism. Zionism is a disgusting political ideology that has hijacked Judaism and Jewish history to justify imperialism, apartheid, and genocide. And Zionism is responsible for the lion's share of actual anti-Semitism that exists around the world as people react to Israeli aggression and misplace their anger on Jews as a whole. All moral Jews know this and speak out against Zionism the loudest, as it is their cultural identity that is being shattered by these monsters. Zionism is to Jewish supremacy as Nazism is to white supremacy. They are indistinguishable. Zionism is Nazism.
Nazis were Christians who loved the white Jesus. Christians who loved the white Jesus and the Virgin Mary and their Pope, the great vicar.
I guess Destiny's little pea brain isn't big enough to wrap his head around that. Are you really implying that anyone who is Jewish can lie about science as much as they want, and if anyone exposes those lies, they're automatically an anti-Semite?
What, bro? This guy reaches so hard. Holy shit, he's obsessed.
Avi lies a bunch about science. I exposed his lies, and in response, he just called me an anti-Semite. Exactly like the Zionist lobby that banned me from Twitter and tried to smear me for exposing their lies and propaganda. Same tactic. Literally 1 minute prior, you listened to Avi say he puts a viral YouTube video to make money in which he makes anti-Semitic claims, while making zero attempt to dispute any of the science I presented. You heard him say that. He was exposed by me, therefore I'm an anti-Semite. That's the logic he's putting forward. I'm articulating that logic clearly, and you burst into laughter like I'm pulling something out of my ass? Really? Furthermore, what's funniest about this tired angle is that you and all your piece of shit Zionist cronies are not Semites. Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews like you and Bibi and all the rest are European. You literally are not a Semite, while Palestinians are Semites. Therefore, Zionists are, in reality, anti-Semitic. It's quite shocking that Destiny doesn't bite on this and go on a tirade, especially since this was the main thing that upset a lot of people when I posted this video. He just giggles and then moves on. But for the record...
And moves on. How many people have done that when they come to this channel? They just giggle and move on. Or like AOL, laughing out loud. Oh, you guys are spics. That's all they can say. That's all he could say. All right?
This is accurate. Ashkenazi Jews like Bibi are way more European than Middle Eastern. That's why with services like 23andMe or Ancestry.com, Ashkenazi Jew is literally listed under European. I follow Reggie Watts on Instagram, and he recently posted his results. He's 11.1% Ashkenazi Jew, which is listed under European. He's also 0.1% Arab, Egyptian, and Levantine, a totally separate category under Western Asian. This categorization makes sense since Ashkenazi Jews look fucking European. This is also why these
Oh man. You guys saw what I posted or what I have posted in the past, but I recently posted like, you telling me these Europeans claim to be from the Middle East, but they hate the people of the Middle East? They call them Arabs, but the reason why the people there are considered Arabian or Arabs is because it's from, history, Padam Aram, land of Aramaic or Aramea, which would mean land of Aram. So I would assume you as being from there would be kind of that because they're your cousins technically based on the historical Bible. But no, you seem to like really differentiate yourself, and yet you don't look like the people from over there. Great point.
Ancestry kits are tightly regulated in Israel and can't be purchased in Israeli pharmacies. They don't want citizens to find out that they're not fucking Middle Eastern. They pretend to have a divine claim to a region that they're not from. Do Ashkenazi Jews have more Middle Eastern ancestry than Scandinavians? Obviously, but over many centuries, that ancestry got diluted and they're largely European now. This is in stark contrast with Palestinians who have had a continuous presence in the Levant since antiquity, along with Mizrahi Jews, who, by the way, experience systemic discrimination in Israel, which is socially and politically dominated by European Ashkenazi Jews. It's almost like there's some white supremacy in their Jewish supremacy, wouldn't you say? You can talk about the etymology of the word anti-Semitism all you want, and that's totally fine, but the facts regarding biology remain, and that was the main point I was making. Europeans pretending to be Middle Eastern has the same vibe as some Karen in Massachusetts bragging about being 3% Cherokee Indian.
There you go. Man, this is fucking great. Hey, how you doing, sis?
Indian. This claim to ancestral land that Zionists espouse in order to justify murdering people and stealing their homes is total horseshit. We all originated in Africa, so white people should be able to steal African homes too, yeah?
Hey, remember, when I first started this video, I told you, this guy, he's in science, he's into science, and he's, I guess, an atheist, right? But again, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If you support the genocide of people like that, man, I pray that you and your family go through that shit harder than ever. Because that's just like, that you're just empty in the soul.
A little moot since Africa was very recently the victim of European colonialism for about 100 years, but still, the logic stands. Hey Avi, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the whole world despises your ideology. The world knows your gaslighting and your Hasbara tactics. Shouting anti-Semitism at everyone that hurts your feelings is just going to hasten your demise tenfold. What does that have to do with it? What does being a lying, manipulative, gaslighting fraud in order to get away with scientific fraudulence have to do with his political ideology that involves lying and manipulating and gaslighting constantly in order to get away with war crimes? That's a serious question.
My scientific, can you be anti-Zionist without being anti-Semitic? Maybe, but if you really wanted to dive into it, there's like a big, I think it's actually a pretty deep argument, but most people aren't even close to being able to have that discussion.
Hey, jackass, why don't you try having that discussion with any of the thousands of anti-Zionist Jews who fiercely oppose Israel's genocide and co-opting of their faith? I'd love to see that. There's nothing deep about it. Anyone with a moral compass is anti-Zionist. Many Jews have a moral compass. Are you seeing the Venn diagram?
Like, I don't think, does anybody in the Western world ever say, like, is there a position for, like, I don't think Kurds should ever have a country? Like, I don't even know if that's like a position that people have. I think people generally are just like, oh yeah, I mean, they should, but I mean, it sucks for them, I guess. I don't know, but I mean, we don't really talk about Kurdish.
So they're just gonna kind of take a different dive this side, but I wanted to share that with you, okay? I think it's extremely important. And now let's just go ahead and finish it off with some of this info. I'm gonna put it in English. You guys have to understand how important it is, and how it relates to our people.
Look, in Caspar Weberger's book...
Okay, let's go. This is Khalife. Look what he says.
Look, in Caspar Weberger's book Next War, The Next War, it's been more than 20 years since that book, I'm talking about the Secretary of the Pentagon, talks about the invasion of Mexico. And as you read the book, you'll see that the activities that the United States did in that Mexican scenario were designed to relieve the Mexican people of very major suffering caused by a guerrilla terrorist kind of activity over Elo. What better way? Now let's get to Trump's marketing. He has always glorified the Israeli company Magal Systems, which is the one that builds the walls, in which the state of Israel has a shareholding. We must not forget that either, and they are specialists in walls. Just ask the Palestinians, right? In Gaza, in Syria, Jordan, walls of ignominy, right? And in Mexico, they are the primary candidates for building the wall. Just like you have the Mikoro company, which is from Israel, the water company, which is the one that wants to privatize water with Kornfeld, right? Who is
That's happening in Chihuahua right now.
a felon, etc. So, look, when it comes to the quotes, we also have to see how the bidding project for the wall is coming along, because it's one thing to make cement, to place cement, that's the simplest thing, that's not that funny. Here the Israeli part is surveillance, the monitoring, which is not with underground tunnels, with very fine sensors, all this technology that they handle very well and that CMEX obviously does not handle. Well, CMEX, you can't lose sight of CMEX's relationship with Enrique Krause. CMEX is Enrique Krause, biggest publicist throughout his life in the Free Letters, which is not his, it's from Televisa. So, that connection is very clear. I think that the Israeli community is going to be in trouble here if it doesn't define its loyalty. Because right now we are witnessing the re-Mexicanization of Mexico, because Mexico had been de-Mexicanized, the entire Atamida group had de-Mexicanized it by adopting the Zionist neoliberal model, but the Americans did not accept us. Well, I was never on their side, right? They kicked us out and now they want to re-Mexicanize themselves, right? And they talk to you about unity when they have always practiced disunity. So, I think the problem here is that they have to show their loyalty. If I were the community, I would advise them to criticize the construction of the wall by an Israeli company, the same as Mikoro, the privatization of water, because that will increase anti-Semitism as defined by them, at that level and, to me, they will be more popular. One could think of a division or balkanization of the United Mexican States. Look, every time I've studied Netanyahu for the last 20 years, when I first came up with the concept and you mentioned the balkanization of Mexicans, I based it on what Netanyahu did in Israel with the Palestinians, and it's the same thing Trump is doing with Mexicans. But what happened today? Israel is promoting the balkanization of Arab countries in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, etc. Well, and even in Turkey, and since they're no longer Arabs, they're already at an Islamic level, between you and CDOs, it suits them because that's what sustains theocracy and the apartheid of Israel. Look, I'll give you hard data from the United States military, especially from people with close ties to Israel. We have to keep this in mind because of this balkanization project. Look, in Caspar Weinberger's book Next War, The Next War, that book has been going on for more than 20 years, I'm talking about the Secretary of the Pentagon, he talks about the invasion of Mexico. If you read the book, you'll see that the activities that the United States did in that Mexican scenario were designed to highlight the Mexican people's very major suffering caused by guerrilla terrorist kind of activity. Over, Robert Kaplan begins to speak, who was trained in the Israeli army. He is, whether we like it or not, from a very important magazine called Atlantico, he has a lot of influence with Clinton, with Obama, etc., etc. He says that there are 3 Mexicos and that Mexico can go north, center, and south, right? Well, then there's Stratford, which is strategic forecasting, but look how it leads me all the way to Israel. At the end of the day, all roads lead to Israel. Stratford, which is strategic forecasting, is a center that is in Austin, Texas, but run by an Israeli. Look how interesting. Well, they constantly manage the balkanization of Mexico through the cartels. Look, if you ask me if I were an advisor to Trump, well, the balkanization of Mexico would suit me because it would destroy Mexican identity. It wouldn't be the same if you belonged to Zacatecas or to Michoacan and you would fracture Mexicans inside. Look, it's not unreasonable. So, I think we're going to enter a period of balkanization, even in the United States, and sometimes there's the Colexi project because the United States no longer suits the majority of Mexicans, and it even upsets them and distorts their elections.
What Netanyahu, that fucking Satan Yahoo said, President Trump is right. I built a wall around Israel's southern border. Stopped all illegal immigration. Great success. Great idea. Fuck you, beaners. Seriously. They look at you no differently than how they look at the men and women of Palestine. Some of the books that he has. You have Trump, el supremacismo blanco, el espejo negro de Estados Unidos, la migración latinoamericana. What they don't want to see, basically, if you consider that. They don't want to see themselves in that mirror. And it says nacionalismo contra globalismo, right? Nationalism against globalism. And this is Nueva Orden Geofinanciero Multipolar. Okay. Now this right here, the desdolarización, the de-dollarization, and obviously BRICS. Right now, I will let you, I'm going to say it like this. The war in Iran, because it is a war, is for the petrodollar. Here's what's at stake. If USA loses, if they get punked, which it looks like they are, the dollar tanks. Why? Because it's already demanded by Iran that they're going to manage the Strait of Hormuz. And if you want to purchase any type of oil from them, you're going to have to purchase it in yuans, which means if you have a dollar, you're going to have to transfer your whatever dollar, peso, or whatever it is into yuan to purchase oil. And that gives the yuan power. And that means the petrodollar is. That's what's at stake. That's what's at war. And to be honest, this goes way back. Check this out. Let me speed it up. Short video, but it has a lot to do with the next one. All right. This is interesting.
April, I made a video about the Rothschild origin story, and I didn't think about it again until someone texted me saying, hey, is it removed? So this morning I looked in my archive and I cannot find this video. It wasn't removed like for community guidelines violation. It's missing. The line item in the spreadsheet is missing, as if I never made any video. But I did. I still have the research notes. This person also watched it and would like to know where it's gone. I have no explanation for this. It's very, very scary that that's gone. That video addressed two things: the Rothschild origin myth and the symbolism of red in medieval Europe. The Rothschild family say that they trace their origins back to 15th century Frankfurt. They say that Mayer Amstel built a successful business in financial services and a reputation for trustworthiness, deep market understanding, and enduring relationships. They say the family name derives from the house sign that said Zum Roten Schild at the red shield on their ancestors' dwelling in Frankfurt's Jewish quarter, and that these house signs were used in lieu of formal street numbering, and that became the basis for the family's surname. The issue with that origin story is that Jewish residence and economic activity in Frankfurt in the 15th century was heavily regulated, and a house here that could publicly display a red shield would have already been quite substantially high up in the economic and legal order. It was the city who assigned and regulated house signs, which meant this family had been formally recognized by the German crown. That recognition alone tells you they already had enough capital, enough contracts and repeated litigation to have access to the city-enforced legal and tax administration systems. Jewish moneylenders, financiers and court Jews had existed across Europe for centuries before the Rothschild name appeared on that house. And by this time, Jewish credit networks in Frankfurt and elsewhere were deeply entangled with local rulers, nobles, merchants, princes, and the crown itself, providing loans and liquidity that the cities depended on. This myth confuses three things. One, that political exclusion is the same as economic irrelevance. They are not the same. It also confuses legal vulnerability with a lack of leverage. While Frankfurt's Jews could be expelled, taxed, or fined, the creditors depended on them. It also conflates spatial confinement with an absence of power. The Judengasse, the part of Frankfurt that Jewish families were confined to, was physically small, but the flow of money and contracts through this area was large. It is not possible, based on European power history, sumptuary laws, Jewish exclusion, or how red was used, that you could have a red shield on your house as a newbie. This was a node already long plugged into existing credit and custodial networks. Rothschild rise is not a fairy tale from nothing to everything. It is the scaling and institutionalization of a role that was already materially and judicially significant in 1769. Medieval colour was regulated signalling. From roughly 1100 to 1500, Europe had sumptuary laws, which turned colour into a visible hierarchy. Who could wear or display red, purple, or black was a matter of ordinance and enforcement. And red was one of the most charged in the medieval palette. Its meanings clustered around three domains: blood and life, the blood of Christ, martyrdom, sacrifice, crusades, oaths sealed in blood. Then authority and law, so red was used for legal seals, charters, city authority, courts, execution spaces, or sanctioned violence. And then in commerce and protection, red is common on these merchant houses, banking signs, contract spaces, and money handling sites. Red was visible, red was a warning, red was serious, red gave it legitimacy. Now the shield. A shield in medieval symbiotics means protection, custody, guardianship, trust. Shields appeared on city gates, guild signs, armour, money handlers, storage houses. A shield says the goods here are under protection. A shield says transactions here are recognised. A shield says violence against this space has consequences. Put that together, in medieval urban language, a red shield is communicating somewhere that has sanctioned protection to do lawful commerce and has a recognised status by the city. It's not nobility, it's not mystic, it's not a conspiracy, it's not a hidden domination. It's just symbolism. That meaning only emerges after centuries of accumulation. Why this video has been scrubbed from the internet, I have no idea. That makes it even more suspicious. So download this. I might need it back someday.
I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Now we're set. It's because of this, right? It's exactly right here.
Bones. That is to say, I am not going to ask all the Jews to undress to show them, the Mongol footprint and bring the true Semites, who are the Mizragim, very...
So, let me speed it up. I don't like the translation, the voice, but, you know, it is as best as I can because a lot of you guys don't speak Spanish. Here's where he gets deep into the Rothschild connection, the family bloodline, and where the Khazars come from and all that stuff. I've done many classes on Khazars. Again, I promise you, family, I'm going to do that class. I scheduled it for Friday. I'm going to give you the origin of Christopher Colon. I'm going to give you the origin. I'm going to show you exactly that, you know, what the fuck, what's going on. And then after that, I think I'm going to start doing really more short videos. I think Friday will be the long one now. The last one that I'll do long, just giving you a heads up. I'm going to try to do more short ones. Stuff came up, so, you know, I've been, you know, busy with other stuff. So just giving you guys a heads up, all right? Don't get all scared. I'm not going anywhere. I'll just do a little bit different. But anyways, let's continue.
The Hazars are a Central Asian tribe of Turkic-Mongol origin that was around the Black Sea. It was basically their domain, and they were mercenaries that the Byzantine Empire used against the Somalites at one stage, and then they were used by the Byzantine Empire against the Hassanids of Persia. Right. And then, in the 7th century.
I just want to share something with you before we move on from this picture, this page here. Okay. All of these people once worshipped Odin from the halls of Valhalla. Trust and believe when I tell you that all of them worshipped Odin. And if you look at the history of who Odin was or is, right, it would be Edom. Odin is Edom. Odin comes in a lot of different names. Woden, Wudan, Gatter, Gat, and also Kos, K-O-S, which is the deity of the Edomites. Edom, Odin. They all know Valhalla. You've heard it. You've heard it. Even these guys talking about it. And what was his name? Fucking Cash Patel. When Kirk Douglas got shot and shit. You know, I'm kidding, but you know who I'm talking about. Cash Patel's like, and I'll see you in Valhalla, in the halls of Valhalla, brother.
AD, the century, their leaders basically, and that's where the controversy begins, right? Converted to Judaism, to the religion, even though they were not of Jewish ethnicity. That's essential to understand. They converted to religion, which was supposedly unacceptable, but at that time it happened, and there was one of the greats, I would say the second greatest philosopher of the Jews, even...
Mind you real quick, when you read the book, The 13th Tribe, right? The 13th Tribe, when you read that book, it's talking about and somebody from I don't know what was he, Iran or Iraq? I don't know. Somebody from where was he from? He's a caliphate or ambassador or some shit. Anyways, but somewhere in the Middle East, okay? He was sent to the Muslim guy, went up there to find out about who these people were. And he, when you read the 13th Tribe, the book, it talks about that trip. And he writes about those people that he ran into. The Huns, the Rus, the Gurs, the Vols. Who else? He named a few people. His name was Ibn Fahlan, Ibn Abim, Ibn Hamad. Okay. As a matter of fact, the 13th Warrior, which Bantero Banderas played, even has a references of that book. It's fucking heavy duty, man. And this is a fact. Read the book.
And before Maimonides. Many consider that Maimonides was even inspired by him, whose name is Yuda Kalevi. He was born in Spain and later went to die in Israel. He is from the 10th century. He tells this story very well. That's essential. Well, these were medieval practices, right? They worshipped Tigran, a sky god, etc.
This is where they came from. Tengrismo. Their religion. It says, los házaros no conocían el cristianismo y el islamismo a través de su interacción con bizantinos y árabes, y así como por sus tratos con los mercaderes, pero no adoptaron ninguna de las dos religiones. Su religión original era el tengrismo, una religión animista que adoraba al Dios del cielo, basada en el espíritu de la naturaleza y la veneración a los antepasados. Basically, like, you know, kind of like, you ever seen the cartoon Mulan, if you have kids? Mulan, and they're honoring their ancestors. It's like that. Tengrismo, all right? Let's continue.
They had practices that were, I would say, very idiosyncratic to the region. Naturally, when they adopted Judaism, they abandoned them, right? Let's not forget that this is fascinating. The Turkic Mongol people, especially the Mongols, disappeared as a religion and adopted the three major religions, Christianity, Islam, and the best example is the Turkic peoples, Turkey, and Judaism. And that's
how they spread. You see why you have Christian Zionism? You see that shit now? Okay, all right.
Why the Hazars are so specific. Now, how is it that the Hazars are so well known? We must also keep that in mind. With the famous book of the Third of the First Tribe by Arthur Koestler, which many say literally
that was the book I was just mentioning right now by Arthur Koestler. Okay, so he writes about this gentleman from he was from Islam, religion of Islam or Muslim, goes up north to find out about these other people, and his name is Ibn Fahlam, Ibn Hamid, Ibn Haban, something like that, right? So he goes up there and he writes about this fucking trip, and he shares all kinds of crazy fucking shit about these people prior to them being Christians and all that. I mean, literally, they never showered. They didn't shower their private parts. They would pick the fleas off of their hairs. They spoke really awkward. You know what I mean? Their relationship with their women was very brute. You know, the girl would just fucking scratch her crotch right there in front of you. Like, if you read the book, I'm not saying this because I'm just making it up. You read the book, you read that shit there. Okay? You know, that go around and pass like a bowl in the morning and they all brush their teeth with that bowl. Like, well, not they wouldn't brush their teeth, but like, you know, drink off that bowl, spit it back and pass it around and dad, same shit. And you actually see that in the 13th Warrior in the movie. Let's continue.
Early refers to him and his wife. And Arthur Koestler was even a Zionist, but he was a lucid Zionist because he dared to say what they could not hide because, I mean, if the true origin of what Jew means in three senses comes to light, that's where the great confusion begins. I even tell my few remaining Jewish friends that they have to make a distinction. They have to look for terms because we have the religious Jew who is respectable. I don't see why it bothers me if someone believes in X and Z creeds, such as the Muslim, Sunni, Christian, Orthodox, Buddhist, Hindu. I have great respect for the ecumenical pluralism of religions. Then we have the racial Jew, which is where the problems begin because they can define it. Right from the start, there are several groups today, right? The vast majority, which is 75% of Judaism, which is 16 million on the planet, are Ashkenazi. And most do not live in Israel. Interestingly, most live in...
Let me share these pages with you. This is from the book that he was talking about that I mentioned as well. On page 35 of this book, you actually can see that, okay? This is from the 13th tribe, the book we just saw. This is the book of Ahmad, Ibn Fadlan, Ibn Al-Abbas, Ibn Rashid, Ibn Hamad, an official in the service of General Muhammad Ibn Suleiman, and the ambassador of the Caliph of Maqtadir to the king of the Bulgars, in which he relates what he saw in the land of the Turks, the Khazars, the Russians, the Bulgars, the Bashkirs, and their varied kinds of religions. And others, their varied kinds of religion, the history of their kings, and the conduct in the walk of life. So he wrote this stuff down, and you can see on the bottom here. I don't know why I took that picture so bad. The date of expedition, it will be noted, it's much later than the events described in the previous section, but as far as the customs and institutions of the Khazars' pagan neighbors are concerned, this probably makes this much different, and the glimpse we get out of the life of the nomadic tribe convey, at least in some idea, what life among the Khazars may have been. Okay, so that's page 35. Let me just kind of run through this real quick, just so you can see that, because he's not kidding when it comes to like the nature of their conduct. Let me see if this is it. Like the Erwa competition, what is the ruler wanted with us? So this is where they're passing by, right? And they're, pay tribute to Khazars. You can see that. Next morning, the Turk, darkly built, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let me go to the next one. Page 38. Then we see here where it gets a little bit crazy. Okay. All right. It says here, they have no religion which would link them to God, nor are they guided by reason. They do not worship anything. Instead, they call their headmen lords. One of them consults a chieftain. He asks, "O Lord, what shall I do in this sort or that matter?" And the course of action they adopt is decided by taking counsel among themselves. But when they have decided on the same measure and are ready to carry it through, even the humblest and lowest among them can come and disrupt the decision. All right, so check this out. Their women wear no veils in the presence of their men or strangers, nor do the women cover any parts of their bodies in the presence of people. This is white folks, by the way. These are Europeans. You understand? This is the shit that they used to say about us. The nerve of them to come to this fucking continent and tell us how uncivilized we are. His wife, it says, one day we stayed at the place of the gods and were sitting around. His wife was also present. As we conversed, the woman uncovered her private parts and scratched them, and we all saw it. Thereupon we covered our faces and said, "May God forgive me." The husband laughed and said to the interpreter, "Tell them we uncover it in your presence so that you may see it and restrain yourselves. But it cannot be attained. This is better than when it is covered up and yet attainable. Adultery is alien to them, yet when they discover that someone is an adulterer, they split him in two halves." Damn. This they do by bringing together the branches of two trees, tie them to the branches, and let them both trees go. The mofo is torn in pieces. Pretty crazy, no? All right, this is your civilized white people, by the way. These are the chosen people of God. The ones that, that's what they're telling us, that they're chosen people of God. That's what they're saying. I'm not saying that. That's what they're saying. This is page 39. Now it gets even more interesting, okay? So watch this. It says here, accustomed to the splendid baths of Baghdad, our traveler could not get over the dirtiness of the Turks. The gods do not wash themselves after defecating or urinating. Let me read that again. The gods do not wash themselves after defecating or urinating, nor do they bath after seminal pollution or on other occasions. So their shit smells like fucking pescado, like all kinds of shit. From never washing oh my God, bro. They refuse to have anything to do with water. Have they changed? Remember in 1492 what happened, right? Right, okay, so they refuse to have anything to do with water, particularly in the winter, because it itches. Dumbasses don't put any lotion on themselves. All ashy fucks. When the Gus commanders-in-chief took off his luxurious coat of brocade to don a new coat the mission had brought him, they saw that his underclothes were fraying apart from dirt, for it is their custom never to take off the garment they wear close to their bodies until it disintegrates. Another Turkish tribe, or Khazar tribe, the Bashkirs, shave their beards and eat their lice. Jesus. This is from the 13th tribe, once more. The book that Khalifa had referenced, a book that I've shared with you in the past. Then it says, okay, Turkish tribe, the Bashkirs, shave their beards and eat their lice. They search the folds of their undergarments and crack the lice with their teeth. When Ibn Fadlan watched a Bashkir do this, the latter remarked to him, "They are delicious."
Are you?
And they have the nerve to tell us that they came here to civilize us. Again, once more, this is from the actual book, the 13th tribe. Okay. Let me see. Watch this. About pagan religions, he has little to say, but the Bashkirs, the ones that eat their lice and shit, the phallus cult aroused his interest. So the Bashkirs' phallus cult, you know, they worship a pole, which it connects to Baal, because Baal is like technically like a pole. Look up the word Baal. The Asherah pole, like technically like a phallus. In some cases, a tree with a few branches, like a cross, where Jesus died on the mother of his arms. I mean, this goes real deep. But this is the initial signs of those that worship a phallus. Phallus cult arose his interest, for he asked through his interpreter, one of the natives, the reason for his worshiping a wooden penis, and notes down his reply, because I issued from something similar and know of no other creator who made me. Wow. So you worship a penis because that's what you came out of. Man, you might as well worship some balls, bro, because it was the balls that you came out of. The penis was just a fucking direction. Jesus, bro. Think about that. You know what I mean? You came out of the nutsack of this. The nutsack is your God. I'm joking, by the way, but like you understand and see what are we talking about here? And that's a great example. The phallus is the same sundial or obelisk that is at Rome that they took from Egypt. We go really deep in this because I issued from something similar and know of no other creator who made me. He then adds that some of them, the Bashkirs or Khazars too, you know what I mean? It's all them people around that fucking place, believe in 12 deities of God for winter, another for summer, one for the rain, one for the wind, one for the trees, one for men, one for horses, one for water, one for the night, one for the day, one God of the death, and one for the earth. This is exactly who these people are. The same ones that are here in 1492, you know what I mean? The same ones that are running the fucking shop right now. While that God who dwells in the sky is the greatest among them, but takes counsel with the others, thus are all contented with each other's doings. We have seen a group among them which worships snakes, and a group which worships fish, and a group which worships cranes. Then he continues that the Vulgars, when they observe a man who excels through quick-wittedness and knowledge, they say, "For this one it is mere befitting to serve our Lord." They seize him, put a rope around his neck, and hang him on a tree where he is left until he rots away. Wow. See, they said there's nothing mysterious about the cruel treatment meted out by the Burgos to the people who are overly clever. It was based on the simple, sober reasoning of the average citizens who wanted only to lead what they considered to be a normal life, and to avoid any risk of or adventure into which the genius might lead them. He then quotes a Tartar proverb: "If you know too much, we'll hang you, and if you are too modest, they will trample on you." He concluded that the victim should not be regarded simply as a learned person, but as an unruly genius, one who is too clever by half. He leads one to believe that the custom should be regarded as a measure. Fuck, this is crazy, bro. But again, man, you know, the most fucking. Oh no, hold on, no. Let me show you this one, and then that'll be the last one, okay? I think it's this one. I think it's this page, okay? Let's see. Let me see. Medicine man, motivation, Kella. So these here. Okay, let me read this real quick. On the bottom of page 41, it took the Caliph missions nearly a year. June 21, 1921 to May 12, 1922. Okay, this is a common era, you know what I mean? To reach this destination, the land of the Volga Bulgars. The direct route from Baghdad to the Volga leads across the Caucasus and Khazaria. See how relative you guys are? You guys are brothers. But anyways, that's not what I was looking for. Let me just see if this is it. Come on, bro. Let me see. Is this it? Oh, man. Hold on. Is this it? Hold on. Let me see if this is a page. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so you're going to see this too. You're going to see this as well on the movie. Now, if you think this is that was nasty in 1958 Impala, wait till you read this shit right here. Page 91 in the same book, The 13th Tribe. So Adam Kostler, who's a Zionist, trying to prove that he is technically from like an actual Israelite, right? Found out that he's not. They're Europeans. They're fucking converts, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like the people that are over here trying to say that they're the actual indigenous people. Stupid shit, right? It says here, Khazar shit. They are the filthiest creatures of our Lord. Watch this. The following passage on the Rus occurs just before his account of the Khazars, quoted earlier. So these are people that have dealings with each other. Russians, Khazars, Ukrainians, all the same shit. But Khazars blended into Ukrainians and Ukrainians blended into Russians, and the Russians, as you can see, all of that fucking Bolshevik stuff. And like, anyways, that's a different point. But let me read this, okay? The following passage on the Rus occurs just before this account of the Khazars quoted earlier. They are the filthiest creatures of our Lord. In the morning, a servant girl brings a basin full of water to the masters of the household. He rinses his face and hair in it, spits and blows his nose into the basin, which the girl then hands on to the next person, who does likewise until all who are in the house have used that basin to blow their noses, spit, and wash their face and hair in it. So if you're the last one to hold of that, you got everybody's snot. Everybody's fucking spit. Now, you can see this in the movie, The 13th Warrior, where he meets these people under a tent in the morning, and they wake up, and they're passing around a basin doing the same shit. 13th Warrior, 13th Tribe. Like, come on, bro. You know, it doesn't take a fucking, what do you call it, an astronaut to figure that out. They're trying to give you a hint, okay? Let's continue with this, too. Hold on. Let's go.
In the United States, right? What is the relationship between Ashkenazi Jews and the Hazara ancestry? Well, that is where it is said that they come from. For example, I have a study that there are also studies that Zionism finances at Albert Einstein University in New York with geneticists who find it convenient to demonstrate the opposite. For example, this is from The Scientist, there I have it. There it is, genetics, roots of the Ashkenazi. The genetic roots of Ashkenazi Jews have nothing to do with the Mizragim. Who are the Mizragim? They are the true Semitic Jews. They are the Jews, our first cousins of the Arabs, of the Canaanites. That is important to point out. And of the Sephardites. The Sephardites were those who were in Spain and were expelled by the Catholic monarchs. So, from the outset, they have the document, because that is already at a scientific and genetic level. And, well, yes, and there is also something called in genetics, the phenotype, it is how similar they are, right? If you see a Mizrahi, which in Eastern Hebrew means, they are the true Semites, you see them, well, they look like, they are the same as the Arab, there is nothing different. The only thing that differentiates them is their religion, and they are very respectable. But here comes the fascinating thing is that if you see an Al-Azhar, they have several different characteristics in their phenotype. Many are white, blonde, it has nothing to do with it. It is a totally different race, which is also respectable. No one is saying that it is not respectable. The only problem here is what it leads to, the famous law of return. That is the key. That is to say, how can you return to a place that you call Israel or Palestine if you have never been there? Neither you nor your predecessors. That is the key to the problem when we are talking about Hazars, and obviously we have to differentiate that they are Europeans. They proliferate around the Black Sea, then emigrate to the Rhine, the entire German region, and that is where they draw from romantic nationalism and German myths. We must never lose sight of that, the context, right? Environmental. And that is where their definition of anti-Semitism comes from. It is just a curious anti-Semitism without Semites. That is to say, how can there be an anti-Semite if there is no Semite? The problem with the anti-Semitism practiced by the Hazars is that they are not Semites. So, here we are. So how can they accuse me? For example, in my case, I am 4 times Semite. How can a Hazar accuse me of being anti-Semitic when he is not Semite? And I am 4 times Semitic. I am Semitic by race. I am a Phoenician Canaanite Arab origin. Around 2000 and a bit of the year, Lebanese in modern times, Lebanese. Then culturally, gastronomically, linguistically, and I have to add one more, and religion. I am a Maronite Catholic. So, how? And the Maronites, we come from a Semitic liturgy called Aramaic, which was the language spoken by Christ. So, look, they are confused, that's why there are so many groups, but I already told you about the phenotype, but there is one more characteristic. At birth we all have the Mongolian imprint on our coccyx. On our tailbones. That is to say, I am not going to ask all the Jews to undress to show them, the Mongol footprint and bring the true Semites, who are the Mizragim, very respectable, orient the Sephardites, who are often confused, to demonstrate that they do not have a Mongol footprint, which is very important. I am a psychoneuroendocrinologist, I know what I am talking about, I know these subjects, but here it goes. But there is also great discrimination against other so-called Jews. That is why, that word Jew, I don't know, I always tell my Jewish friends, you have to rethink it. How do you define it? From Netanyahu? He comes from, like Jabotinsky, who is the ideologist of Zionism. This whole group of Likud, come from the Hazards, which happens to be that the 13 most important banks in New York, well, 10, are in the hands of the Zionists, right? Most of them are Zionists. That's probably where that's handled, right? That's where that theory comes from, right? But it had to be proven. Then you see it in the Federal Reserve of the United States since Alan Greenspan, he's Hazaro. Then he came, Ben Shalom Bernanke replaced him, and then there's Janet Yellen. But there you have it, in the Federal Reserve, not only is Janet Yellen, but they brought in the second one called Stanley Fischer, they brought him in from the Bank of Israel. I mean, all that is striking, right? The whole monetarist model of
all Europeans.
Milton Friedman's Chicago Boys. Are you talking about another Hazaro? No. What is the relationship between the Rokas, this one, and the Hazaros? They are
Hazaros, it means Khazars. Hazaros means Khazars.
Hazaros, the Rothschilds. They come precisely from that part of the ring, from Frankfurt. Even their name and surname are called the Red Shield. In other words, it has an attack element of the mercenary war that they had before converting to Judaism. But in reality, I would say more than the plan, the stratagem to manage the finances of the Western world comes from the Rothschild brothers around Frankfurt. And that is where the theory is born that they send several of them to various financial centers in Europe to seize the money, that is, the banking system. To what extent do the Rokas still manage the world financial system today? Look, it draws a lot of attention, obviously, the people who depend on the Rothschilds, they're propagandists, right? And advertisers, in addition, they control the multimedia worldwide, they will tell you that these are conspiracy theories, right? Because that suits them. But look at the reality, and I'm going to give you some hard data that he handles, and you tell me how much the world is losing control. Look, there's a book written by a Chinese man called The Currency Wars, much earlier than the one written by James Rards on currency wars. James Rick is a great financier. He even teaches classes at the Pentagon, and he handles all the Pentagon's war theories to be used in geo-financial terms. There are geo-financial wars, that's essential to understand. Well, this Chinese author wrote that book about 10 years ago, and he says that the Rokas at that time, today it must be much more, handled around $6 trillion. You're talking about the level of a country at that time. Today it must be much more, but here's what we detected today. Macron, the candidate in France, worked at the Rokas Bank. Wilbur Ross, Trump's Secretary of Commerce, worked for years at the Rokas Investment Bank in New York. We are seeing it. Then, who is taking the oil from Mexico? The Rokas. Through whom? Scott Bank. How about Scotia Bank? Well, they are the ones who financed Peña and Videgaray. That's where the
was saying is way before, AMLO also was running. So, this was obvious, man. Let's continue.
money comes from. They had to erase the origin of those checks from the Central Bank of Mexico, from the Bank of Mexico. Those things are not well known. I'm almost giving you the exclusive. Ricardo Monreal handled it a little, but I don't know. In Andrés Manuel's campaign when they contested that there was financing from Scott Bank, which belongs to the Rokas, and you know that from there they take the oil from Mexico. So much so that, Videgaray and Trump go to the offices of the financial bank in London, the Financial Times, the newspaper. No, the other way around, the reporter from the end doesn't go, like you who come to my house. No, they go to the offices of the Financial Times to openly hand over the oil from Mexico. So, now and there we begin the organizational charts and the origins, right? The genealogy of power, as Foucault would say, of who owns the Financial Times and the economies, who are the spokesmen for the global neoliberal model, who controls it. That's what we have to see. Who is behind it? No less than BlackRock. BlackRock, the largest investment bank in the world. And who is BlackRock? It's the Rokas. I can't help but ask you about the covers they do in the Economist yearbooks. Many people see it as a kind of futurology. How do they have so much information? What do you think of those covers they do in the yearbooks where somehow many of the
images that are there later happened during the course of that year?
Well, they are guidelines for the year. Let's not forget that they are closely linked to MI6. The Rokas are the ones who founded the State of Israel. It has just come out openly, even in writing, right? Since they are behind the founding of Zionism and Israel, etc., because from a colonial power called Great Britain in the 19th century. And from there, obviously, they erase Palestine, but they do not erase it, they remake, they reconstruct an entire history. We are talking about a re-engineering of history. For example, a historian like Sand, a historian from Tel Aviv University, he is not just anyone, from Sand University, wrote a book 8 years ago called The Invention of the Jewish People. And it was a bestseller in Israel. You can read this book in Israel, you show it in Mexico and they accuse you of being anti-Semitic because the community here is in the hands of George Soros and the Rothschilds. Specifically, you have Enrique Krause-Kleinbort, who is Hazaro, Jorge Castañeda Gutman, who is Hazaro, the Russian mother Hazaro, and then you have Alejandro Franfic, who handles the nuclear issue at Annam. They are very well established in power.
How deep this rabbit hole goes. Now, let me show you a little bit of that book, because in that book, Shlomo, reason he gives up is because he finds out that Sephardics as well as Khazars are fucking converts. So you will find, if you get the book, The Invention of the Jewish People, around page 222 is where you can see him attacking or pretty much, exposing Khazar conversion. I'll read a little bit of this, okay? It says the successful spread of Judaism in the Maghreb was probably due to the presence of a Phoenician population in that region. Although Carthage was destroyed back in the 2nd century before Common Era, not all its inhabitants perished. The city was rebuilt and it was soon an important commercial port once more. Where then did all the Punic, the African Phoenicians who populated the coastline go? Okay? Several historians, notably the French Marcel Simon, have suggested that a large number of them became Jews, accounting for the distinctive strength of Judaism through North Africa. What do you say? Well, don't you know, Nate the Snake Roberts? What do you say about this, Mr. Nate the Snake? Since you use Jews in North Africa, those are our people. Bro, those are converts. It says it is beyond reason to assume that the close resemblance of the language of the Old Testament to ancient Phoenicians, as well as the fact that some of the Punics were circumcised, helped promote mass conversion to Judaism. Okay? You see that? You see what occurs? All right, so now let's read a little bit. Marcel Simon suggests that the Philo-Jewish policy of the Severan emperors, a dynasty originating in North Africa, might also have it contributed to the popularity of Judaization. Judaization. Gosh, please spit it out, bro. Now check this. North Africa was one of the outstanding successes in the history of proselytization in the Mediterranean region. Proselytes, converts. You see that? So this is what Shlomo is writing about from page 200 to like 201, 217, 18, 19, something to that effect. Then he goes after the Khazars, in 220, 222. In North Africa, elsewhere, many of the Judaizers remained in a state of semi-conversion, you see, or as they would later be known, heaven worshippers. You see, the New Testament mentions God-fearers, Jews, and proselytes coming to Jerusalem from the parts of Libya and Cyrene. Now it says here, two of the leading thinkers of the early Christianity, Tertullian and later Augustine, were born in Africa. Huh. So black folks knew about Christianity way before 1492. How the hell did that apply to you then? How can you go and say that you ruled Europe and then act like you don't know these people all of a sudden? Act like you ruled Europe to them. You spoke all their languages. How can you guys? Oh my God, dude, it's so silly, bro. So silly, man. But at least just giving you a glimpse of that book. Let me see if I can find the Khazar pages, but we're almost done.
Well, what you see is that the New World Order has two connotations, it has two meanings. The geopolitical one, which was the one I was handling, that there is always a world order, always, and each time there is a new world order depending on who wins the wars. That is to say, after World War II, the bipolar world order was established between the USSR and the United States. When the USSR dissolved, unipolarity remained. That was the world order. Then now we are entering a multipolar order that I rather see as tripolar between the United States, Russia and China. That is one meaning. There's, the Rocha Group, Soros and all of them, run a single world government where they would control others through finances. Well, look at Mexico. Hey, how can that be? Hey, look, I know the Jewish community in Mexico very well. Few people know them like I do. I even had very interesting conversations with them before the neoliberal model. I got along very well with them. And they hadn't reached the radicalism they have today, because it has changed. I can say that the community has changed a lot. The Jewish community in Mexico is not the same before the neoliberal model as it is now. It has changed a lot because New York is now involved. The banking industry in New York is coming into play. You're talking about Goldman Sachs. You're talking about BlackRock. Do you understand? No, from George Soros, from the Rochas, from Scots, and they have eaten up that previous group, and today the new groups of bankers are Franflik, Castaneda Gutman, Kraus Kleanberg, etc. You have a new physiognomy in the Jewish community. They don't say it openly, but those of us who know them, you're talking about another group. I mean, today the Jewish community is dominated by the Hazars. Not before. Before there was a balance between Khazars, Mistragim and Sephardites. So, they wanted to impose the global world order in global unipolarity through the financial method, but that has already fallen apart, no more. I don't see it anymore. They can't impose it even in Great Britain, or even in the United States. It's not easy. They can impose it today through a supremacism that is not lasting. Look, I've always told the problem, even to the Jews. Hey, look, it's one thing to be anti-Zionist. But what do Zionists do? When someone attacks Netanyahu's apartheid policy, they immediately accuse him of being anti-Semitic. It's like their shield against his political actions. So, they themselves are creating the confusion. Well, if that's the way it is. Hey, you've mentioned that almost half the planet is anti-Semitic. As a Semite, it doesn't suit me either. It's not because tomorrow they won't know how to differentiate, and, interestingly, I'm more offended by someone who is a true Semite than by someone who is not a Semite. I'm not making myself clear. So they themselves have created that confusion. This has to be seen dynamically. Because that confusion, for example, if you read what the Anti-Defamation League publishes, right? All their statistics. For example, Joe Lifes calls me an anti-Semite because I attacked Netanyahu, right? I attacked him in Tanyahu. I am not attacking Jews from a racial, religious or culinary perspective. I am attacking them for their genocide, infanticide in Gaza, in the West Bank, the expulsion of Arabs, their Arabophobia, Iranophobia, etc., etc. We are talking about something else, do you understand? But there has come a time when it may even suit me because I will have 50% of supporters just because they call me anti-Semitic. In the world, I don't know if I am explaining myself. Of course.
If they already gave me the thumbs up because I'm anti-Semitic, then I will have 1% acceptance. No, but the moment you give me the devil's kiss and you have so many people against you, according to the statistics of the Anti-Defamation League of Anti-Semitism, which is very lax, which is a unilateral, reductionist, very sectarian definition, it is not universal. We have to go towards universality, and I accept the peculiarities and particularities within universality. Of course, no one can agree that there will be a genocide of Hazrats tomorrow. I wouldn't accept it because it is not universally acceptable. But you can't be using terms that are not universal today and turning them into a Jalisco tool with multimedia choreography, because you dominate most of the world's media, especially in the West, to denigrate those who have criticized you for your racist policies. Look how interesting this is. So, they are putting the noose around their necks because at the end of the day they are going to see more and more of the famous anti-Semitism, as they define it, growing. And those who label us as anti-Semites, being Semites, well, it suits us. Well, I read the Israeli press every day, I have to read it. Just like I read the Arab press, right? Right now there's a new classification that they tell you, a Jew who criticizes Zionism is, self-hating, they call it. He is a Jew who hates himself. Quote. Well, it reaches every definition. Right now, for example, today there's the new trend on the jets. What is the new trend? The dilemma of the Israeli far right, the far right of Israel with the far right in Europe, which on the one hand is pro-Israel and at the same time is anti-Semitic. Well, you can tell me about that later. No. Even they don't understand, please. At the end of the day, they don't understand themselves. So, for that reason, look, we have to start, obviously, with the acceptance of Jews. I have studied with Jews in the schools of Beirut, I have lived with them. In Istanbul there is a Jewish community of 20,000. With their synagogues and everything. They live together, they know each other, you know them. There they have their synagogues, they live with the Persians, Muslims, Shiites, etc. Well, that's very respectable. That doesn't take anything away from anyone. The problem here is political Zionism, but I'm not worried about political Zionism anymore, to be honest. Well, Netanyahu seems very minor to me. Today you're talking about a project by the Rokas, by George Soros, and you're already entering financial Zionism, which is a global denomination.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad you guys have been here. Appreciate your support. It is almost end of time. Yeah, that was a mistake. But not really. They planned it. It was purposeful. You know, they want certain people to go to war. Obviously, they want your kids to go to war. Let's finish it off with some pages and then we're through. Check this out. This is from the Jews and Muslims in British colonial America. Okay? So here we see a history of who? Not just Sephardic Jews. And again, Shlomo Sands debunks Sephardic Jew converts, right? I mean, think about it. Why would they be in Europe if they're from Israel back then? Anyways, so, and then he also debunks, Khazars. But watch this. The Caucasus people called Khazars converted to Judaism in the 10th century and moved eastward into the Ukraine and Poland during the 12th and 14th century, bringing a confusion of religions so that the term for heretic in Catholicism became the same as German word for Khazar, Kurzer, heretic, Ketzer. The 15th and 16th century saw the birth of the Moravians and Anabaptists. So, who brought heretic faith into their so-called group of people, right? 1496, 4 years before the Inquisition began, Jews were banned from Spain, supposedly. I'm going to touch on that history, and you're going to find out this is, I mean, they knew what the fuck was going on, fam. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, so let's go to the next page. Here we see, this is from the, oh my God, it's a book that I have. It's a book that I have of the Stone Age, not the Stone Ages, you know what I'm saying? The Dark Ages. And it's specifically talking about Europeans. So on this page, I don't know which page is it. I'm going to look at this one. Yeah, that's it. This page. It says, early in the history, the Germanic tribes became split following the southward migrations of the Goths, Franks, and others to overrun the territories of the former Western Roman Empire. while the Scandinavian tribes remained in the north until the Viking explosion, carried them as far as Greenland and even North America in the west and in Kiev in the east. But whereas the southern migrants became converted to Christianity and may be held responsible for the formation of the later Holy German Empire, other Germans at home long retained their pagan customs and gods, as evidenced by their depiction of Odin or Woden, the universal father on an 8th century tombstone from Horsen, Germany. Woden is basically Edom. Okay, so let's go here real quick. Again, just giving us an idea of who these people are. Khazars, you'll see them mentioned on this page too. See, the Khazars of Etil also organized an overland transport of boats between the Volga and the Don. It says, near the mouth of the Don, the Byzantine engineers constructed a fortress for Khazars' use at Sarkel, White House. White House, right? That's what they called it. White Khazars, owning this description to their fair skin, ruled over black Khazars and an inferior social class. Now watch this. Supposedly they don't know where people went. The precise origin of the Khazars are uncertain, but it seems that prior to the establishment of the empire in about the 7th century, they had lived in a nomadic life, speaking a language of the Turkic group from the earlier period, come from these fairly crude objects in the iron head of a warrior axe and a clay jug for carrying water. It says the silver coin was issued under Leo the Ninth, 775 to 780 Common Era. The Byzantine emperor known as the Khazar. His father had married the Khazar princess to demonstrate the firm diplomatic links between the two empires and their military alliance against external threats. So this is when you see the I guess you could say the disappearance of the Khazars. And I believe in Shlomo's book, The Invention of the Jews, it talks about how the Khazars then migrated into Ukraine or Kiev, if I'm not mistaken. But because of time, I'm not going to look for it. Anyways, family, I hope you appreciate that information. Man, listen, please share this info because it has to get to more people than we can get to. Obviously, you know, the algorithm over here, it's you know, it's not good on my end, bro. They don't like me. They don't like this channel, and they're gonna keep making sure that this information doesn't, that this information doesn't, you know, get past just the people that are, I guess, subscribed to this channel. You know, if you can pass this info around, and again, this isn't just recent. I've been sharing this type of information for more than 3 years now. I mean, maybe it took this while, but I'm glad our brothers and sisters are listening because, I mean, shit, man, we even got what do you call it? He's a science communicator. Okay, he studied science, chemistry, but he's a science communicator. I learned that if you're not a scientist unless you're actually practicing science, right? Can't call yourself a scientist if you're not practicing science. So in this case, he's a science communicator. Even on their end, they're fully mindful of what the fuck's going on. All right, y'all have a good night. Thank you very much for your support, fam. Take care of your family. Make sure you don't forget to pray, man. Stay as close as you can to our Father, your Creator, and you know, Lord willing, man, we no matter what happens, we stay afloat. You know, no matter what happens, we're above ground level. You know what I mean? No matter what happens, I pray for that for all of y'all and for all our sons and daughters. Okay, you guys have a good night. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys Friday.
Antes del nombre América, antes del hierro y la cruz, había pueblos que hablaban con la tierra y con la luz. No era un mundo vacío, era ciencia y corazón. La historia empezó aquí mismo, aunque el invasor no pida perdón. selva profunda hasta el águila solar, ciudades que eran mundos cuando Europa se partió, capitales que flotaban mientras el viejo mundo ardió. En la montaña aprendimos a vivir sin dominar, sin rueda y sin bestias, pero sabiendo gobernar. Caminos y comunidad, trabajo como misión. El poder no era conquista, era responsabilidad. No fue progreso, fue despojo. No fue fe, fue antojo. Antes del mapa, antes de ti, había pueblos completos que no vas a entender. No éramos pasado, somos raíz, aunque nos llamen historia, seguimos aquí. Hey. 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 Quemaron nombres, vendieron memoria, alzaron fronteras sobre nuestra historia. Nos dijeron atraso para robarnos la voz, civilización a balazos y la fe pa'l control. Pero la tierra recuerda, la raíz no se rinde. Aunque cambien las banderas, la herida no se extingue. De norte a sur somos la misma raíz, la misma herida que se niega a morir. De norte a sur nadie sobra aquí, Latinoamérica sigue y no va a pedir permiso para existir.
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.